coming up, Ty from Comeuppance is back, and we're going to be looking at two from Eric Roberts. We're looking at Top Gunner and then Top Gunner America versus Russia. So it's two of his Asylum collaborations. And of course, spoiler alert, those two movies are not really connected in any way. Even though Eric Roberts is in both of them, he doesn't play the same character in them. I also think this is the first time we've had him where it's his actual voice. So if you remember a previous episode, we did Red Prophecies, and that one had a dubbed Eric Roberts in it, Alexander Nevsky film. So this is the first time with his voice. It's sort of an unofficial birthday celebration. His birthday's coming up in a couple days as we're posting this. So sort of an unofficial birthday celebration to Mr. Roberts. So yeah, that was a fun episode that Ty and I did there. Gotta love the Top Gunner movies. And then next week, Chris Kavinsky from Bulletproof Action is going to be on, and we are going to be talking about American Ninja 2. So classic, right? Michael Dudikoff classic there. That was a really fun episode. We talked about all kind of things that happened in that movie there. We also get a little bit into wrestling as well, because we recorded that before WrestleMania happened here in Philadelphia. So we had a little chat about that as well. So that'll be next week. And then in 2 weeks, Freddie Young from Full Moon Reviews, he is going to be back on. We haven't had him on in about 10 years. He was on when the early iteration of the podcast with Jamie in 2014. He was one of those episodes actually that was that was lost when TalkShoe, the old site that I had that was hosting our podcast, when it had a server meltdown and we lost all the 2014 episodes. So his was, I think, like July of 2014. So I haven't gotten that far yet in reposting those old episodes. Well, he is back on. We're going to be talking about Frankenhooker. So I've been looking to get into more horror, especially some horror comedy. That was a really fun conversation, especially because Fred's from New York City, so he kind of is able to put some really good perspective on a lot of what we see in that movie there. Because, of course, Hen and Lot are shot in New York City. So it was a really great conversation. That one's coming up in 2 weeks' time. And then in terms of DTVC Extra, I'm going to be wrapping that up in 2 weeks. So we just had the previous episode last Thursday that was Alien versus Predator films. And then not this coming Thursday, but the Thursday after. And actually, I just realized I'm going to be out of town on that Thursday, so it might actually be on Friday that it gets posted, because I'm going to be in New York City for work, and so I won't be able to post on Thursday. So it'll probably come out on Friday, but that'll be Predators, the Predator, and Prey. Those will be the three that we'll be doing for that. And then I was trying to think of what the next franchise will be after that. I'm thinking actually maybe do John Wick. I had planned to do the first three John Wick movies with the idea in mind that I would get to see John Wick 4 in the theater, and I was going to do it that way. And I don't know what came of that. I don't remember what ended up coming of that, why I didn't end up doing that. But that was the original plan. So I might go back and do that, because the first three John Wicks are on Peacock, which I pay enough for cable that they give me Peacock Premium for free. So that's how that works. I've got the first three movies, and I just have to rent the fourth one as a free rental, or a dollar rental with my cable company. So that is probably going to be the next franchise that we do. Will be the John Wick series. So that'll be for DTVC Extra. In terms of the site, this weekend we've got One Ranger. So Jesse V. Johnson film, which he has another film coming out soon. It's called something. I can't remember, something Station. I'm horrible that I can't think of the name of it right now. But so he's got that coming out soon. And what's interesting is that it's almost like he had the movie Boudica that came out before. And Boudica is still available as a rental. He's so quick with his movies coming out that Chief of Station, that's what the movie's called, Chief of Station. His movies come out so quickly that the first one doesn't have a chance to make it to transition from rental only into free streamer. And I'm behind. I mean, I've got to do Boudica. I still haven't done Hell Hath No Fury. That's another one which is on streamers. So I'm a little behind on the Jesse V. Johnsons. And he's got a new one coming out already. But anyway, this weekend we'll be doing One Ranger, which is one that Ty and I did on the Malky on the Skids episode of the podcast a little while back, where we were looking at John Malkovich movies. So that'll be this Saturday. And then Saturday after that will be VFW, finally getting that one and getting some more Fred Williamson on the site. So that's one I've been meaning to do for a long time. I've been paying monthly for AMC AMC Plus that I don't really even need just so I can do this movie. There's a couple more I found on there that I want to do now, so I'm still paying every month like $10 a month that I probably don't need to be paying. But anyway, that's the case there. And then week after that, we're going to be doing Three Kinds of Heat, a Robert Ginty movie that I had intended to do a couple years ago. I think when we did the Ginty More Beef Stew episode of the podcast, I was Ty, his brother Brett, and I. We were doing our top 5 Ginty movies. I had planned on doing it then, and it was pulled from the free streamers. And I was like, well, it's not worth for me to rent it just to get images to do the blog post. Well, it's back now, but I've got to watch it again. It's been so long. But that'll be coming. So again, this week will be One Ranger, 2 weeks VFW, and then in 3 weeks we will have Three Kinds of Heat. Also looking to do an indie post in that time. So keep an eye on the site. We'll see if we do that. But yeah, that is pretty much everything. So why don't we do this? We'll just kind of wrap up here. Have our theme song. John from After Movie Diner and Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures playing our theme song as always. And then when we come back, Ty from Comeuppance will be on, and we'll be looking at Top Gunner and Top Gunner America versus Russia. All right, we are back, and we're joined once again by Ty from Comeuppance. Welcome back, Ty.
Hey, how you doing? Nice to be back again.
Yeah, so we got a fun episode here. In honor of this being Eric Roberts' birth month, April, which actually is my birth month as well. I'm born April 1st. I'm the 1st, and he's the 18th, which actually he shares that birthday with my friend Jesse that I grew up with. So I don't know if Jesse listens, but yeah, it's his birthday as well, April 18th. So yeah, so we figured we'd do a Eric Roberts double dip.
Yeah, great. Remember we saw him in Red Prophecies. He was John Payne.
That's right. He was, but his voice wasn't. So.
No, he wasn't there. Yeah, I think there was like a smidgen of his voice, right? Or no, I think that was all full dub.
I think it was full dub because it was. I guess it was like one of those like old Italian deals, right? Or Hong Kong deals, right? Where it's like everything was dubbed in Russian and then completely dubbed over again in English.
Yeah, it's really, really funny because like, oh, okay, Michael Madsen's movie. Right. Michael Madsen. It's like, hey, right. That's not his voice. This is his voice. Read Michael Madsen.
Exactly. Well, the other thing too, it was the second part of our Casper Van Dien double feature. So it's like we had this really great one in Most Dangerous Game where Van Dien was just tearing it up. Yeah. And then we had Red Prophecies to go with it.
And then I thought that was going to be the better movie.
Right, exactly, because of all the names that were in it and everything. Yes.
Yeah, Bruce Dang. Remember, each time, we hadn't done a Bruce Dang in a while.
Right, exactly. I mean, out of the 700 plus credits that Eric Roberts has on IMDb, that is the only time that I think it's the only time ever that we've covered him on the podcast, possibly. Yeah, because I think I did Expendables 2 on a podcast episode, but not Expendables 1. So I think this is only the second time we've ever looked at Eric Roberts on a podcast, despite having 700 plus movies.
Yes, so having amazing choices.
Right, exactly.
If we did every one of his movies, back, let's say you go to King of the Gypsies or something like that, it'd take forever.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I went all the way back, but this, you gotta love him. You gotta love that little guy. We'll get to him.
Exactly. Well, exactly. So we got a couple other we got our usual, what have you been watching lately coming up? But also our spotlight on a fight is probably one of the best of all time, which I think we said that last time for the Expendables one, but this one here, the undefeatable end fight scene. There's a lot to dig in on that one, but that one, what's great about that one's another one that you can find directly on YouTube. I think that one's been on YouTube forever. I think that's
forever.
One that
they used to people make fun of it. I'm like look at this silly scene. Look at they're all glistening and shirtless and going.
Right, which is true. That's what's great about that fight scene. Is it's people say this seems to be like a common phrase I hear a lot of things is both things can be true, right? That's the thing people like to say a lot.
Mhm.
And what's great about the Undefeatable one is both things can be true, right? It's that it can be goofy, but yet really great in terms of fighting as well.
I can't agree. When I watched Undefeatable less than a year ago, and it was a massive hit once again.
Yeah, I think that's one of those ones that even gets better with age. I think it's one of those ones where you're like, okay, I've seen this one.
That's
It's
a great
like
point.
yeah, I think every year you see it. If you, it should be like an annual
Every
thing.
year.
You should see it every year.
I think I used to do that for like Virtuosity. It's like I have so many other movies I have to not have to, but I want to watch that are in my
Yeah.
pile. And it's like, well, Undefeatable came up. Like, all right, Undefeatable, because I got that hot Blu-ray of the extra
Oh
new
yes,
version.
yes.
And yeah, it's interesting. It's got like 20 more minutes of footage. It's weird. It's weird to watch. Wait, we're going backwards.
Right. Yep. We're going in the opposite direction. So yeah,
Yeah.
well, actually, it kind of dovetails right with what have you been watching lately? So yeah, so Ty, what have you been watching lately?
Well, let's see. I watched The Executioners. It's a
Mhm.
movie with Natalie Byrne. It's like a assault. I guess I can say the word rape revenge story.
Oh yes.
It's all right. You don't really care. It's like, and then what else I watched? Oh, I watched. Why is this gone from my? Oh, the new Hellraiser on Hulu.
Oh, nice.
Uh, Dud Razor. It makes Hellraiser Hellworld look like a masterpiece. It's like, well, I think it's not as bad. What's that one that really people hate? Like Hellraiser, like Revelations or something. There's like the guy.
Is,
You don't get Doug Bradley. It's like some fake guy with pins in his head.
right. Is that the one that's in space?
Oh no, that's Hellraiser Bloodline. That's the best movie of Adam Scott.
Okay.
Then they made Hellraiser Inferno and Hellraiser Hellseeker. I might be going out of order, but then they did Hellraiser Dead or Kari Wur. They did Hellraiser Hellworld of Lance Henriksen and Kathleen Winnick and Henry Cavill.
Oh, nice.
Henry Cavill.
With
Then
his accent, does he have his English accent or not?
I think it's an American accent.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think he also kind of winks at the camera, if I'm not mistaken. It's like, oh no.
Yeah.
And then I didn't even know who that guy was when I watched. It's like, ooh, Lance Henriksen. It's like,
Right.
ooh, Pinhead, Mr. Penny.
Right.
And then like, who's Henry Cavill? You ever see like a name that you don't like back in the day, like Henry Cavill? It's like, okay. See, but now you know his name in your head.
Right, exactly.
Like, but then they made some garbage one. I think it's like Hellraiser Revelations and doesn't have Penny. And then they made Hellraiser Judgment a few years ago. Do you remember this one?
I remember it coming out.
Yeah, it tried its heart. And I'm not saying it's bad. It definitely was heart was in the right place. And then they made this remake that's on Hulu, which is a total dud because it's 2 hours long. And it's like, you're kidding, right?
Yeah. I mean, what? Because this is interesting because this is I think John Cross said this to me before about like horror movies and comedies, right? Is that you can only make them so long because you can only scare people so much, right? You can only do so many like scare scenes, or you can only do so many jokes, right? Before it's like people are tired of laughing or tired of being freaked
That's
out.
a great point.
Yeah, and I think that's why a horror movie and a comedy probably hour and a half is a good number for both of those.
Yeah, you can't go on. It was just like you're waiting for. It's not very good. I would say, why did I even watch it? I was supposed to watch the Echelon Conspiracy. I thought, oh, okay, I'll push that back. Oh, what's on Hulu? Oh, Hellraiser. Oh, all right. I was on penny break from. I watched the Bloodline work print. As
Mhm.
actually less Adam Scott, but all right.
Yeah.
But it's like, and then like, all right, I said I'm gonna go on penny break, and then he's like, all right, I'll watch this crud, and it was crud.
Yeah.
And then watch anything else? I watched something on Tubi with Brett, which was Rage of Vengeance.
I like that combination.
Yeah, look at that title. It's kind of like Warrior of Justice. It's like the same word. It's just like,
Right.
it's
It's like
a
just put it in the title machine, right?
yeah, I love that. Yeah, how about Rage of Vengeance? It's almost like an erotic thriller. It's like
Right, yes.
it's like I can't even now think of these movies, but it's or sexual politics or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
That could be something actually. That could be Shannon Tweed and maybe like a J. Michael Vincent, and he's like a corrupt mayor or something. That could be a movie.
Yeah, I think Jan Michael Vincent as a corrupt mayor, like I'm
Yeah.
seeing potentially like double-breasted suits, maybe.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
He goes into his office, starts yelling at his underlings to be.
Oh,
I need to be
yes.
more corrupt. It's like
Yeah, it would be like one of those 90s offices that has like a view of the city with like maybe like some kind of potted plant and like a
yeah, about
glass table.
yeah. There's two versions of that. There's the junky version where you just don't see any window, and then there's like an
Right.
actual production budget where you see a window and you see
Right.
like the outside. It's like
Right.
you have two
Exactly.
choices, and
Yeah.
Andrew Stevens could be his right hand man.
Yeah. Oh, Andrew Stevens. Can you imagine Andrew Stevens comes in right into the office while
Yeah,
like I like you've got Jan Michael Vincent on the phone, right, sitting behind his,
yeah,
his nice desk, and he holds the receiver with the pinky out when he's talking. He's got like a ring on his pinky, and Andrew
yeah.
Stevens comes in. And it's like, oh, sir, you've got a meeting with so and so. No, push it back. Push it. Well, we can't push it back, sir. We've already pushed it back. I mean, I've said to push it back. Oh, okay, all right, sir. And then he like just kind of buttons up his coat and turns and walks out.
And then for some reason they actually have the meeting, and it's like really
Right.
boring. You have to wait for it because then you got to wait for
Exactly.
Tweed because Tweed would be the new secretary or something.
Yeah, and
It's
and
like,
and Tweed's got like this like bit like this suit with like a really short skirt and
yes,
nylons,
yes,
and she's
it's
got
like
her legs crossed and like chewing on her pen. And
yeah,
Jan Michael Vincent, instead of paying attention to what the guy's saying in the meeting, he's staring at her.
yeah. He
And
puts his glasses down, he stares at, it, and there's a high shot of her legs or something, and then
right,
yeah,
yeah, and there's a point where the guy says, sir. Oh,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry. Can you repeat that? Yeah, because he completely missed what yeah, that he was saying. Yeah, I mean, you could even sometimes those movies would even like I know like a Dallas Connection, right? That Sidar's film. Like you could even throw in a love scene by just having Jan Michael Vincent imagining having the love scene with
yeah,
Tweed
exactly,
during the meeting. Like you could kind of
exactly.
intersperse
That's
clips of
perfect.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
her name would be like Jennifer Sin, and it's
Right.
like it's like
SINN. That would be
S I
perfect.
N N.
Or
Yeah, it's like
SYNN even. That's even better.
SYNN. Yeah, it's like the Sin. It's like it's. I
That's
forgot what we're
perfect.
talking about. We're talking about
Well,
oh right, Hellraiser. Oh yeah, skip it. Yeah, what's oh it's sexual politics. Yeah, so it's like
yeah.
the unrated version from Imperial coming soon, or R-rated version just for your renters. Yeah, I always see that in these screeners,
Yes.
like or Blockbuster or something like that. Let's go back to Blockbuster. You see, because you go to the theater today, it's nothing playing.
Yeah.
You know, like what's at the theater? Dune 2 or 3 or whatever. It's like Dune 3.
Yeah, well, you know what the problems with the theater that I've noticed, like for example, Madam Web. I was thinking about going to see Madam Web, and then
Mhm.
I found out my friends that live in Maine actually all went. I think they went like as a big group, but I was like, I don't want to spend the money. But then like I'll hear about like an indie movie that's at the theater, and I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
I'll go see that. But it only plays during the week, and then by the time the weekend comes, they're done playing it at the theater, and it's like yeah, it's like the difference between watching at home and watching at the theater is that at home you just have so much more control over the entire thing. It's like you
So
watch it when you want to. You're not beholden to when the theater wants to show it. You don't have to worry about work, right? You can just like, oh, I'm working today, so I can't go to a matinee, but I can get home and watch it. It's
yeah,
like,
home when I get home. Yeah, and I can
yeah,
watch Madam Web, which I see it's now available to rent or buy. And I saw
yeah,
the ads. I see those little ads on the Roku City. You ever
right,
watch
yeah. Oh,
that?
yes. Yeah, because it's like the
People deliver it.
$20 deal, right? It's like the $20 rental.
Bucks. I'll
Yeah.
wait for it. It's free. It's like, but I do. Did I show you this video? Maybe I did, and I'll send it to you. Which is some like kind of nerdy interviewer guy says, I found the first Madam Web comic. Dakota Johnson. She goes, "Wow, yeah,
Right.
wow, she's really spicy." And then, yeah, wow,
Right.
good. It's
But
hilarious. I kind of feel. I think it's in the last podcast, but I felt bad. It's like now she's like, I was hired as an actress to be. I sound like Liam Neeson. I'm Madam Web. I'm Mr. Webb. It's like,
yeah, Sydney Sweeney, they interviewed her about it. She
yeah,
was like, "Well, big reason why I took the movie was that it got me an in with all these executives at Sony, so I could get movies that I want made."
that's not a bad idea. I
Yeah.
give
So
her a break. It's
yeah,
like
well,
I'm giving her a break. I'm giving. I mean, I see the ads for Immaculate. It's just her screaming for like 30 seconds. Like,
right,
oh, I never
exactly.
seen the ads for that. It's just like,
Yeah. Well,
oh,
yeah, because it's funny because like there's like all kinds of like Twitter is just like the worst space, and I find myself like I'm
oh, you
trying to
fall
just
into
go.
the Twitter fall. You fall into the Twitter trap.
Yes, and I try to just go on there just to like retweet like other people's stuff and like and have and kind of engage with kind of funny posts. But somebody was saying how like there's like people it's like they're trying to call the movie woke, whatever that means, right? Whatever it means to call it that. And they're like saying how like Hollywood was pushing her into that movie. And somebody's like, no, you realize like that's her project. Like she bought the script or something from somebody and she's
What,
producing the
Immaculate?
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like she got. I'm pretty sure she got that movie made by doing Madam Web. Like that's like she met people through doing Madam Web that
Well,
was able to get the
you
movie
gotta
made.
do that sometime. Look what Dane Cook said about Simon Says.
Right,
And it's like he has to pay his dues.
right, exactly.
I
Yeah,
think,
I mean, and she paid her dues, right? Because she did some Lifetime movies at the very beginning, I
yeah,
think.
Lifetime movie. She made that movie called The Voyeurs.
That's
There's
right.
four I definitely watched, but I only saw the first season. It's kind of meandering. But that's just maybe because I'm not a teen.
Yeah,
But it's like pretty meandering to me. But
right.
yeah, this movie looks Immaculate. Looks okay. I mean, I probably would check it out like when it's on streaming. I'm not going to the
Right.
theater.
Yeah,
It's like it
there's
seems kind of
so
movie
few
before.
movies. I
Well,
think the only movie I can think of that's like I've got to go see it in the theater probably is the Deadpool Wolverine movie. Like that's the one that I'm probably gonna be like, okay, when that comes out that weekend, I'll probably catch that one as soon as I can.
and I think I was messaging you last weekend and saying how I was like praising Deadpool 1 to the heaven.
Yes.
It was so
Yeah.
funny. I mean, I was cracking up. It was just pure fun. It had a ton of um, Ajax. As I was in the
Yes.
last podcast, he got to cut back to the bad guy. That's part of the movie.
Right.
And he got a ton of screen time. It's like, oh, perfect. He's evil. He gets screen time, and then you want Deadpool to kill him.
Yeah.
And then, again, that's why I made it such a good movie, too.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. No, yeah. And actually, it kind of dovetails with my what have I been
Yeah,
watching
what have
lately.
you been
But
watching?
I wanted to circle back quickly on the Executioners because that was directed by Giorgio Serafini, who he's done a whole slew of Dolph movies, including well, so he did The Tracker, right? And then he
Right.
produced Hard Night Falling, which also has Natalie Byrne. But then he did some real, I don't know if I mean, Puncture Wounds wasn't horrible, but then like Blood of
Uh,
Redemption and then Ambushed. So Serafini's
yeah.
got some interesting ones to his credit.
Yeah, I mean, like his movies aren't the best. I mean, this one is just typical kind of like I Spit in Your Grave.
Right.
I think it's also was on Amazon, but it's like it's on Tubi. I actually looked through everything that was going away on Tubi the other day.
Hmm.
All right, I'll watch some of these. I'm not sure I
Yeah.
can do all of them, but
No, but it's a good way to approach it. Is that like if something's leaving Tubi, I mean it used to be the same. I remember when Netflix was the only game in town. That would happen all the time with the Netflix Instant. Because that's where I've got like certain tags like the Stars Play 11, where it
okay.
was like 11. Because remember
I remember
Netflix used to
that.
have. Yeah, that deal with Stars where they were essentially Stars' streaming service in the
For a
the
while.
the late 2000s.
Yeah, I remember that. Like it's all I get the well, they got always the hottest movies like Righteous Kill. I remember when
Yeah,
that was coming to
right.
Netflix streaming, and I already watched it like a year earlier. It's like
Yeah.
watch it again.
Right, right, exactly. It was a cool deal, but then it was like once all of the companies, all the major, which I don't know, Stars, I guess they have their own streaming service. But yeah,
They
like all
do.
the companies realized like, oh, we're giving money to Netflix to become like our competitor because like Netflix was using all that money to start making their own movies. They're like, well, we should take that back from them. And but one thing I'm noticing is those streaming sites because they're not doing as well as they hoped. They're starting to license some of their movies out to
I saw
other.
I saw they're
Yeah,
licensing HBO programming to Netflix, which is kind of fun.
right.
Like, oh, okay. I don't really
Yeah,
care. I mean, as long as I get to watch TV and no commercials. It's like
right,
I know
exactly.
I know one of these goofball executives. It's like, but if you want to license that out, wow, you can make a lot of money from that. Well,
Right. Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about with Netflix, we pay like the ad free rate,
yeah,
but we don't use Netflix that much. And I'm
also
wondering if maybe,
same. Yeah,
yeah, if we should maybe dial it back to the ad version of it because we use it
I
so
know.
seldom. But yeah, I don't,
It's like, yeah, it's fine. Oh wait, yes, I agree with you. Oh wait, so wait, what have you been watching? I didn't get to get
Oh
you.
no, that's okay. No worries. No, because well, I circled back originally, but no. So I was watching the Marvel movies. I've kind of I'm taking a pause on that, but um, for the when I was watching like the kind of last couple movies of the Marvel Phase Two, I decided to watch the Fantastic Four that came out in 2015, and I just I watched everything but the Rise of Silver Surfer Fantastic Four. So I watched kind of the three first Fantastic Four movies, and it's interesting about those movies. I mean, what's interesting about with Deadpool is that you get like from Fox like one of their biggest duds, right, in that 2015 Fantastic Four movie, which I watched it and it is completely sautéed in wrong sauce. I mean, it's like
Oh,
they're
okay. It looks
teenagers.
bad.
Yeah, they're all teenagers. They're not like adults like they are like they're supposed to be in Fantastic. They're teenagers and they don't go to space. They go to another dimension, and it's
Oh,
all kinds of weird stuff. And but then like Deadpool, it's like they spend like a fraction of what they spend on the Fantastic Four movie. I think it's like less than half the budget. I think it was like 58 million for Deadpool and like 150 million for Fantastic
and look
Four.
at the difference. You get this high quality. People love Deadpool.
Right.
Letterbox is tough on Deadpool. On Deadpool. Every time I read the reviews, I was like, oh, because I was typing into my file. I was like, oh, what are the reviews? Well, some people are really hard on it. I think it might be fake.
Yeah, it could
Do
be
you not
fake.
like this?
Well, the other problem with Deadpool, the one problem that I have with Deadpool, and it's not Deadpool's fault, it's not the movie's fault, it's Fox's fault. Like they wanted to have Wolverine in that movie. They wanted to like, have at least have an appearance by Hugh Jackman. It's things like that. They wanted to be like a greater connection to the X-Men movies that were out. And Fox was like, no, we can't afford Hugh Jackman for this movie. We can't, they didn't give them the money for it. So it's like the movie that we got was so good. That Deadpool movie. I mean, I think out of the Fox X-Men movies, it's either that one or Deadpool 2 that does the most money. But I mean, I think it's the best out of those. I mean, Logan. I haven't seen Logan yet, so I know a lot of people really
It's
like it.
good. It's pretty high
Yeah,
quality.
yeah. So that might be like the best quality one. But it's like the fact that they put all their eggs in this Fantastic Four basket, but not Deadpool.
Yeah.
And the other thing I read about all this stuff is that I guess I didn't, because I stopped collecting comics. I collected them like in
Mhm.
the 90s and then a little bit in the early 2000s. But when I collected comics, right, X-Men were like the biggest thing, right? Everybody loved, X-Men had like 5 or 6 comic books, and the Avengers were kind of like the minuscule one. And I guess what happened was when Disney bought Marvel, they no longer had a stake in the X-Men like being successful. They wanted the Avengers to be successful. So like they did all of these things in the comic books to diminish the X-Men books and make them make the X-Men overall less important compared to the Avengers, so that kids would like go out and buy all the Avengers stuff and want to go see the movies more, and diminish the desire to see the Fox movies. But the one exception to that is Deadpool, right? Like
Right.
everybody loves Deadpool. Everybody wants to see Deadpool. So it is kind of a weird thing that they weren't like, oh, well, everybody loves Deadpool, right? It's the one, character from the X-Men movies. Maybe, I guess, Wolverine would be another one, but they couldn't really diminish, that Disney couldn't make so diminished that like, nobody would want to read the books or anything. Like that should have been where they put all their money. But it's like amazing that we get such a great movie as it is. But it is like, oh, why didn't you just,
It's
pony
hard
up?
to people think it's going to be a dud. It'd be called Deadpool. Just like
Right, exactly.
you
Yeah.
don't want that to happen. It's like, and then so what's your next movie on their list for
So
the?
I have decided. So of course now when this airs, right, it's going to have already been past the point that that I'll have started doing the solo episodes. But I decided to transition over to the Predator movies because those were all available on streaming. So now my next thing I'll be watching Predator 1 and 2. I haven't watched either of those in years. I'm trying to think of the last time I saw Predator. I remember in school we screened it or senior physics class. We had a substitute teacher and she came late because there was something fugazi about the way we were. My school was they switched over to a different scheduling block system, and she came late, and we had already kind of taken over the class. And I had Predator on a VHS, like somebody had recorded it for me or something. And you know how you have like the TV on the stand with the
Yes.
VCR, yeah. So we had that set up in the classroom there, and I just started watching. Putting on the Predator, and like when the sub came in, she was like this older lady. She had no ability to do anything at that point. We'd sort of taken over. So we're watching the Predator, and there's that scene where Schwarzenegger's like, "You ugly motherfucker," and I was like,
Yeah.
and everybody was like cheering, and I was like saying to the sub, I was like, "Is that the greatest thing ever?" And she was like, "No, this is horrible. This is like,
What a great day that must have been. What a
yeah,
Predator. Cool. I'm trying to think
yeah,
of something similar to that. I was trying to watch Steven Seagal movies when I was in school. And it's like
yeah.
I really thought because let me try to remember the time frame of this. It might have been 2002, 2003. It's like, oh, look, The Foreigner. So I kind of snuck in The Foreigner at school. It's like, I got to watch the movie. I got to watch the trailer. Because, you were kind of making fun of Seagal all the time. Look, he's fat. It's like, because in 2002, it's like, oh, no. Seagal, no. But,
Right. Yeah, because that would have been, yeah, for me in that. So that would have been 96, 97 when we did the Predator thing. That would have been a Seagal who was like the Patriot, right? That would have been like
or a cameraman at least.
Right.
Fireman down below.
Exactly. Yeah. So he was like he was becoming a punchline at that point. He was starting to become more of a punchline. Whereas
Sure, yeah.
yeah, I mean, I guess that's the other thing too, right? That late '90s period is when they were all starting to become a punchline. But like the Schwarzenegger stuff from the '80s was just it held up so well that it was like you couldn't not love it, even when it was like, oh, do I care about End of Days or Sixth Day or whatever day movie he was doing?
Whatever day of the week he's doing. Yeah.
Right.
Both are weak. I mean, especially End of Days. I thought, well, maybe it's better now. I don't know. I think I have a tape version because it has like the hot music videos. It's
right.
It's like the hot, new metal videos. I
remember the Sixth Day when I was in college. There was a movie theater in the town. So I went to school at the University of Maine. So and I think it was either the neighboring town of Orono or Old Town. One of those. They had like a smaller theater that did dollar movie nights, which I looked online, and I don't know if they still do dollar movie nights, but the theater's still open. They still do cheap nights on Tuesdays. So we used to see all kinds of stuff on Tuesdays, and that was one that we saw was Sixth Day.
Good memory.
Yeah. So
he must have wanted to get on the action of two Schwarzeneggers, like two Van Dammes, and
right, exactly. Yeah.
There's been never two Stallones or two Dolph Lundgrens, are there? No, there's never been two. There's not been a double of me.
Yeah, they could do that. Well, the best would be if they did like two Stallones and one of them was Frank, and it was almost like remember Multiplicity when it was like when with
seven Keatons.
Right, exactly. Which once they were getting like the copies of a copy, he was like he was like eating shaving cream and being like, "Hi, Steve," and stuff like that. It's Frank.
I think it's a good idea. I bet the effects probably still hold up. Multiplicity.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I almost feel like they use the effects from Multiplicity to put Seagal in scenes like that. I think it's like the Cartels. I think the one that he does with Luke Goss, where I really think that instead of like when they're doing scenes together in that interrogation thing, I really think that they're edited in together. I don't think that Seagal and Goss ever did a shot together. I don't think so. But I mean, I could be wrong. Yeah.
When we're talking about, two Stallones. Yeah, one. So it'd be Stallone, and then it would be Frank Stallone, and then it'd be Multi Stallones. Stallone toxicity. I can't even say that.
Right, exactly. No, knowing Stallone, he'd want to get like his whole family, like in the movie.
You get Sistine. You get who are these people?
Right, exactly. Everybody from the show. He could probably, I'm sure he could pitch it to Paramount, and they'd be like, "Yeah, this is great. Yeah, I want to do a movie. This is Stallone Publicity. It's got my brother."
It's like, look, there's me. Look, I'm the first Stallone. I'm the first Stallone. You got Frank. I got Frank in there. You got my daughter Sistine, and my daughter, the other one inside. I don't like Sistine. And then it's like, right, exactly. And you got my wife Jennifer. Her name is Sistine also, I guess. And it's like, what is this name Sistine? And did you see I'm getting close. I'm inching ever closer to watching The Family Stallone. I said I wasn't going to really watch it.
I haven't done it yet myself. One of the things. So when I was deciding what I was going to do next for for the solo podcast episodes, I thought about Rambo. But the problem is that a good chunk of those aren't on. They're like available to rent on streaming. But yeah, they're not. I think it's like two of the middle ones. I think it's like First Blood Part 2, and then the third Rambo. I think those ones
are the best ones.
Yeah, and I think they're not available. I think those were the ones I looked up, and I was like, oh, really? You can't give me? Yeah, it's one. I think I can't remember. One of them's on Max, but I can't remember. Is it First Blood? It's on Max maybe, or maybe that's the one that isn't even available.
Last Blood used to be on Amazon Prime. They must have changed that or something.
So I think like the newer ones are available, but
not the old ones.
So First Blood is not. First Blood you have to rent. So it's like already if you're already $4 out. So the thing with the Predator movies is that the Predator ones, because Disney bought the rights, because they were owned by Fox and Disney bought the rights. A good chunk of those are on Hulu, and then like ones that aren't, you can get on like, yeah. So even, yeah, I'm looking it up right now. Even First Blood Part 2 is also, yeah, it's to rent. So it's like, you like you said, those are the best ones, and you can't get them.
Well,
But
2 and 3 are one. I mean, like it's like it's like you are violating Russian airspace. And the third one, he goes F him, and then he starts throwing grenades at everyone. It's like, it's great. I mean,
I
like
know.
that's like, I mean, I was cheering. Then the second one, he goes, Murdoch, I'm coming for you. It's like,
Right.
and he looks like a cartoon character kind of. Oh, I think the third one he looks more like a cartoon.
Well, and the third one, it's like all bets are off when he's like, like explosive tipped arrows blowing up helicopters, and it's just like, who cares? Like, we're just, and you almost kind of feel like they could have ended that. But I think it was like the '08 one that I enjoyed, where there's like a scene where like I think it was '08. The one was just it was just Rambo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that there's a scene where like all of these soldiers are coming to attack him, and he's just got like this huge, massive machine gun thing,
Yeah.
and he's just like mowing them down. It's just like,
it was like he couldn't stop. It's like, and he has like no dialogue in the movie at all. It's
right,
like,
exactly.
it just says nothing, which is funny. I mean, like I don't think he was doing. Well, he did monologues in the first one. Like, oh, it's gonna have the war. It's gonna have the war. The second one doesn't really say much from Murdoch, and the third one, he says Russia. And then it's like,
Right.
The fourth one is what, like, war's in your blood. Killing's easy as breathing. And it's like, yeah, it's pretty cool. And of course, wait, people like live for nothing or fight for something,
Right, exactly. Right. Yeah, fight for something or live for nothing, I think is what. Yeah,
Yeah, like that. And then
something along those lines.
And then this new one, The Last Blood. I mean, does he say much? Yeah, I think he just says, "I'm just gonna don't be praying." It's like, "Don't be praying for death." It's like, okay, that's pretty good. It's like, it got me again. I'm gonna rewatch Rambo 4 and 5.
Yeah, I would love. I mean, I don't know who owns the rights to those. I think that's the problem with these movies is like, because I was looking, I think I was thinking about Terminator as well, and it's like the Terminator movies are owned by like different, like they're like some of them are Paramount, some are not, and I think that's the other part of the problem is like depending on who the companies are. Yeah, it's like Predator's a pretty easy one because it was Fox and now Disney owns Fox, so it's like, okay, so that they're all right there. But yeah, so many of them, it's like who owns the rights to these?
Jump these hoops, it's like, because there's,
Yeah.
I think the last Terminator I watched was, I watched Terminator Salvation of Christian Bale. Remember yelling at that cinematographer guy?
Oh, right. Yes, that's
That
right.
was the movie. It's so funny. You're in my, I don't know what he said, but good for you. You're in my light. I gotta rewatch it again. And they made like a hot remix of like a dubstep remix. It's like,
Yes.
you're in my light, in my light, in my light. It's like, oh, good for you, good for you. It's like,
Yeah. It's funny. I saw this thing recently about Ethan Hawke with when I'm on Instagram for whatever reason, I get Ethan Hawke reels where he's like being interviewed about the art of acting, and he was talking about how like actors make the best directors because they think, sort of the way, the scenes go. He was saying how like with directors, they'll be like, okay, walk into this shop here, and the first thing the actor says is, well, why am I walking into this shop, right? Because they need to know, like, one, for
what's my motivation,
right, exactly, what's my, but also like it seems weird that like if it doesn't make sense to them right away, they're like, well, the audience is going to think it's bad, which is funny. Like I didn't realize this, but Ethan Hawke said, and I don't know how true this is, like if all directors think this way, but apparently like directors don't always think that the audience is as smart as the audience is. And it's like, we, right, when we when we think of like a movie, right, when we're watching a movie, whenever anything makes no sense, right, we immediately clue in on the fact that whatever just happened there made no sense. But he was saying how,
okay, what the heck is going on?
Exactly. And he was saying in this interview thing that like, like, whereas the actor was like, why am I walking into the store? Because it makes no sense for me to go. Because he was saying like the biggest things like horror movies, because it's like where directors just put people in places where they get killed, and the actors are like, well, why would I be in there if I know there's a killer on the loose? Why would I go to the basement, or why would I do these kinds of things? But yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, I can't remember what I was where I was going with it about this, but that idea that, oh yeah, the Christian Bale thing, that like, yeah, that like it gets tense on the sets because depending on who the director is and how much they want interaction with with the actors, right? Like how much they want input from the actors. It can start to get tense when it's like, well, why am I doing this? Why do you have to ask why you're doing this? And it goes back and forth like that. That like it gets to that boiling point where suddenly you get a viral video of Christian Bale losing it.
Well, that's what's funny, and I think the hardest part being answered is all the waiting. It's
Yeah.
like in the set all day, and then you have your
Yeah.
3 seconds of acting, and you go back to your set. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Right.
you could have patience of a saint. It's
Yeah.
just but
Yeah.
I should probably talk about it. Oh, I also started watching Trophy Wife. I remember that show.
No.
It was a sitcom from 2013 as Malin Ackerman, and she plays the third wife of Bradley Whitford. But he has 2 other ex-wives that are kind of goofing around. And it's fun. It's actually really funny. I blazed through most of the show yesterday because I had nothing to do. But it's on Hulu. People should watch it. It's funny.
Oh yeah, I love Bradley Whitford. He is like one of
my. He's fun. He's funny in it. Yeah, the characters are fun. The kids are not really that annoying. They're not. They're really. Everyone has good chemistry. You kind of can't. I think it's a winner. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
They only got 1 season for some reason, but it was pretty good. I'd check it out.
Yeah, because it's an ABC show. It's on Hulu, so yes, you could definitely check.
It's on Hulu, and then kind of someone acts kind of like the villain. Not the villain, but we didn't act like in Billy Madison, but there's bits of, that's probably what people think. People say, "Oh, Bradley Whitford, love him in The West Wing." Then other people are like, "Nope, Billy Madison."
Right.
Because Billy is perfect in Billy Madison.
He is. He's so great in Billy Madison.
Like Adam Sandler movies, like they had villains. You had like Bradley Whitford, and then you had Christopher McDonald and Happy Gilmore. Was there a villain in The Waterboy? I'm not really sure, but it's just like
because it was like essentially he was remaking Billy Madison like every time, right? It was always like a new version of Billy Madison. So he'd use like the same. It would just be like a different version. Like so, it's like okay, Billy Madison goes back to school. Okay, now we'll do Billy Madison plays golf, right? Or like you said, like The Waterboy, right? Billy Madison is like right? It was Mr. Deeds, right? Billy Madison gets rich. It's like all these different. It's like a formula.
Well, it's that great bit on South Park. Remember, and Cartman is playing Osimo, and he's in that robot suit. All he does is think of Adam Sandler ideas.
Right. That's right. I forgot about
it's
that.
like Adam Sandler does this. It's like
But the first one is the best. It's kind of how it is. I mean, not always, right? There are a lot of times like the sequels are better, but I think Billy Madison, like the first one, is just it's like there's so many great elements of that movie. But Bradley Whitford as the heel or villain, because like you said, like the fact that they have to even have these. I mean, Shooter McGavin, he has some great like there's one where he hits a putt and he's like Shooter, and he starts like doing like finger guns and stuff like that, and it's like. Yeah, so I mean he's ridiculous too, but because again, Happy Gilmore, it's like the paradigm hadn't gotten that old yet, but then it was like by the 5th or 6th, it was like okay, we've seen enough Happy Gilmore.
Exactly. So I think, and then I haven't seen any of these new Adam Sandler movies on Netflix. I'm not avoiding them. I'm just not really thinking about it. It's like I said to my friend I'd watch The Do-Over, but I just haven't. I put it on my list, but I haven't got to it yet.
Yeah,
so we got to talk about the movies, right?
Right. Yeah, and I'll quickly say there was one of the Adam Sandler movies that he shot here in Philadelphia, and so
what one was that?
I think it was the basketball one where he played the agent. So I think that was the one. Let's see what that one was called.
Was it Hustle?
Yeah, something like that. It was let's see. It would have been one of his most recent ones.
It came out years ago.
Hustle. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was Hustle.
So that was good things about it actually.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is, right, with me with that kind of thing now, it's like moving here to Philadelphia, it was like such an exciting idea that like so it's definitely the hustle. Moving here to Philadelphia, like the idea that people are shooting movies here, like on The Irishman when they eat at the Melrose Diner, they actually demolished that recently, but I'd eaten at the Melrose Diner, or like Shazam, he shoots the number 9 bus off the overpass. Yeah, and I've ridden that 9 bus, but when I heard that they were shooting, the Hustle on like Market Street, and they were going to block that whole area off, I was like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. Like, come on, like you really got to shoot, So it's like kind of one of those things now where I'm like, it's like I still think it's a cool thing, but it's like once it's happened a few times, it's like I imagine for people that live here, it's like I'm tired of the Rocky Steps and stuff like that. People that have grown up here, it's like they've gotten so much of it, but it's like just. Get out of here! I don't shoot your movie somewhere else. I don't need you on Market Street blocking everything up.
Think about like Georgia now, because everything says made in Georgia.
Yes,
it's like, oh no, Georgia, you can't go anywhere there. All I do is shoot stuff.
Yeah, but you notice what it is with those is that they're like way out in the country somewhere. Like
Oh, okay.
they don't shoot in Atlanta as much. They're I mean like Randall Emmett, like he would make all those movies. They started moving them to like Mississippi and Alabama, but they'd be out like in the woods. Like yeah, I was trying to was it Wrong Place that was in the woods in Alabama in Georgia? Or no, American Siege, right? That was Georgia, I think.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what? Oh, wait, Timothy V. Murphy. I saw an early movie of his this past week, Shallow Ground. Or,
Oh, nice.
do you remember? It's like a horror movie. There's like an evil kind of spirit, some people in the woods. I mean, it's okay. I mean, at least there was some production value to it. It's like,
Right.
I mean, I think the nostalgia of it was a bit better than when I rewatched it the other day. But just
Well, it's got what's his name from Highlander? I mean, Stan Kirsch is the actor's name. Who wow, I didn't realize he's no longer with us. He passed away in 2020.
the guy who played the Watcher.
Richie from Highlander.
The kid.
Yeah. He died in 2020. It said, "Wow, I didn't realize."
No.
He was only 51 years old. He was really, I mean, he was born in 68, so he wasn't that old when he was doing the show.
Oh wow, you look pretty young then.
Yeah, I can't believe. Yeah.
Good genetics on that one.
Geez, yeah. He killed himself.
Oh dear.
Wow, 2020.
Sorry that happened because he was fun on the Highlander show.
Yeah, that was it. It was such a fascinating thing when they decided to make him immortal. I guess they'd always planned on having him be immortal. But it was one of those things where like, yeah, we did when I was in high school. We used to for projects we'd make our own movies about things, and we were doing for Moby Dick. Our teacher was like all over the place about like what could count as something for Moby Dick, and he was talking about how like Moby Dick represented the Mobius strip, for like infinity or whatever. And I was like, oh well, immortals they live forever, so I could do that. So I did a movie about. So my friends and we did our own like 10-minute Highlander episode. But the friend who played Richie like beheads the other one who's playing Duncan MacLeod, and then like we for the quickening we just like threw a whole bunch of paper and stuff at him.
That's funny.
Yeah, and so it was like this whole ridiculous thing of like, yeah, I remember it was like what I can't remember. It was like there was another. I played the other immortal. So my friend played Duncan, another friend played Richie, and then I played the bad immortal. And I think the way that the fight starts was we were telling mom jokes. So it was like I think like the one was like your mom's so dumb she thinks a quarterback is a refund. And then I was like, well, your mom's so dumb. Your mom's gums are so black she spits yoo-hoo, because I heard that like at a MTV thing or something like that.
Perhaps book.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny. I mean, like, do you still have that around, like on a VHS tape? Or?
So they were on like the mini tape, so they might be at my.
Mini tape.
I think I found one time. I think we found one time, and I can't remember which one it was. But yeah, because it was. I mean, like my brother. My brother he was born in the late '80s, so he was into Power Rangers, and he had like all these Power Ranger swords. So that's what we used for the swords in the Highlander fights. Yeah, it was. It was, and the other thing too is I don't remember how we were able to mimic, excuse me, a beeping sound. Oh, I think it was we might have had like a device or something that like did like a loud beeping sound. So like when the mom joke comes, somebody the guy swears, he's like fuck you, and then but like we beeped it. Yeah, I remember like the teacher was just like he couldn't believe what we'd given him. It was just so like ridiculous and over the top.
Well, it shows you have creativity.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is my brother had these big Nerf guns, and so we did like we shot at one of my cats with the Nerf gun, so it like scurried away, and then we shot at each other and acted like the cat. That was like another scene, and then we had my little brother there, and we made it seem like he was the one who was like directing the whole thing. That was like another piece of it, but we were like we don't condone shooting cats and humans with Nerf guns, or whatever. And but yeah, so it was like one of those things like like had the door open and one of us would get shot with the Nerf gun and then like scurry out the thing, like a cat did. So yeah, yeah, I'll have to see what they're at my parents. Like they might be at my parents' house, but yeah, they're all in those mini discs. So we did another one that was like for Seamus Heaney, the poet. It was like just obnoxious where we were like pretending to drink and stuff like that. It was like yeah, the teacher was not happy. It was like yeah, they were just like
these teachers are always so
yeah. No, they weren't fans of that kind of thing. I mean, I know that one teacher for the Highlander one, he was like, well, you should have taken it to an editing facility. And I'm like, I'm not spending money to take something to an editing facility for my junior English class.
Lucasfilm to do editing.
Right, exactly. And I said that to him too. I said this is a junior English class. Like, I mean, for me at like 16 to even have that perspective on it. But I said to him, I was like, this is a junior English class. I'm not I'm not taking it to an editing facility. It's like, because it was one of those things where like I think if we had a bad take, we just rewind it back and start over. So like it
Right,
wasn't
what
like
you should do.
yeah. It wasn't like we were using two VCRs and like putting things together. So there were some bad takes that were left in, I think, as well.
That happens, it's just like. But I want to forget about talking about our movies.
I know. Well, yeah, we kind of we'll get it. We'll jump in here on our two Eric Roberts. So we were thinking about what we wanted to do here, and with it being Eric Roberts' birthday, we thought, okay, let's do a couple Eric Roberts. And we were talking about the Top Gunners, and the one thing to keep in mind when we talk about these two Top Gunners, there's a middle Top Gunner film, and none of these films are connected in any way whatsoever. So it's not like you're missing anything by us going from 1 to 3.
Like separate entities.
Yeah.
But by name only.
Right, exactly. Now, I don't know exactly why the third Top Gunner was made. So here's what we know about the first two Top Gunners. The first Top Gunner was made, it's an asylum, they're asylum films, and the first Top Gunner was made with this idea of, well, we're going to capitalize on Top Gun Maverick, right? We're going to have, so that was the idea.
Right.
Yeah. But then Top Gun Maverick was delayed due to COVID, so they had to make another Top Gunner so that they could have something that would coincide with Top Gun Maverick. That's when they make the second movie, which is called Danger Zone, and that's the one that doesn't have Eric Roberts. It also doesn't have a lot of. It shows fighter jets, but it doesn't really have a lot of fighter jets. It's more of like a bomb on a plane scare kind of movie.
Yeah, we've seen that before, and of course it has Mike Paré.
Yeah, with a mustache.
The mustache is like. That reminds me. I'll make this really quick, but I did watch Lockdown.
Oh yes.
With Michael Paré and Bai Ling. I would say the first 10 minutes, very funny. Then it falls into a solid pre-613. But it's Bai Ling at her really wacky. It's like she's yelling and screaming, and it's kind of funny. And her English isn't great. And it's like, what are you? They said unintelligible the whole time.
Yeah, and for people out there, there's a lot of different lockdowns. This one's a 2022 one. But yeah, I mean, when you get Bai Ling, like in this one, I mean, it's a longer movie, 2 hours. So it's almost 2 hours long. I didn't realize.
No, it's shorter than that. It's actually 90 minutes. They just say that IMDb is wrong.
Oh, IMDb. Okay, good. So for people getting nervous about it,
90 minutes.
Okay, perfect. All right, excellent.
I couldn't sit there for 2 hours. Most people couldn't even sit through the movie. I can sit through really anything. But it's like, but yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, if you want to laugh at Bai Ling, that's about it. But
yeah, I don't know why more movies don't just do that. Just say like, okay, Bai Ling. I just reviewed Phoenix, and of course we did that. That was a really great episode on our show.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that people aren't like, like the directors, like you, like Daniel Zarrilli, whoever, aren't just like, okay, Bai Ling, you're going to be our baddie. Just I'm just going to say action, and you just do whatever on, just turn up the knob to 11, rip it off, and just go nuts, and we're going to have 3 or 4 cameras on you. So hopefully we'll catch everything that you do in this 10 minutes of shooting here or whatever. And then we'll edit it together after.
That's all you got 10 minutes you'd seen for
right. Exactly. Yeah. Just go for it, Bai Ling. And then we'll cut back to the hero doing whatever. And then, just give us something, and maybe you give her like a basic, like, okay, you're having a dinner with like the rest of your gang and you lose it because one of them screws something up. And then she just goes to work, just like throwing the whole smorgasbord or buffet or whatever. And just, destroys everything, getting food everywhere, something like that.
I feel like she just likes to work or something, because she's been in a lot of cruds. Like she's getting to the Eric Roberts, she's getting into the Michael Paré levels.
Yeah,
it's just like, because you look her up on Tubi, there's like 49 choices.
Right.
Yes. And it's like, okay, what do you got this time? And it's like, and it's kind of fun to see her. And then, of course, she's in Lockdown. Daniel's really,
right, exactly.
And she did nothing in that movie called Maximum Impact. Remember that? As Eric Roberts also did nothing in that movie.
Yeah.
I think the Nevsky, and it's the William Baldwin one. And it goes, huh? And William Baldwin's looking into a screen. What? Huh?
Right, exactly.
We've got to talk about his movies, for goodness sake. Okay.
Well, so Top Gunner. So again, the plan was for this one to be and I guess the third one, which we'll talk about in the next segment, was like people got such a kick out of the first 2 Top Gunners. And I think it's these are those asylum movies where sometimes the concept is funny enough to get people to watch them, and I think that's what this one does here. But maybe I'll jump in and I'll do a quick
We're talking the first one. It's just
yeah, we'll talk about the first with Top Gunner. So this one comes out in 2020. So again, Asylum, I guess, they didn't have any issues. I think with the Asylum, I think sometimes with them, it's like they get maybe like, we use the term scuttlebutt, right? They get they hear that movies are in production and when they're going to be released, and so they go to work and make their own movie at the same time. But then if there's any delays in that movie, like there was with Top Gun due to the pandemic, they kind of have a movie sitting there, but I think they just kind of released for whatever reason. I guess they decided they just were going to release theirs anyway. Maybe they thought they could capitalize on the fact that you don't have Top Gun, but you can do Top Gunner.
You have Top Gunner, and you have Eric Roberts.
Right, exactly.
What's his name in this movie? I don't think I got.
So he's a colonel, yeah. So
right.
Colonel Herring. Colonel Herring, yeah. So with the plot here, I mean, the way it works is there's a small Air Force base in Baja, Mexico, that's run by Colonel Eric Roberts, and it's got four cadets that are learning to be pilots, and of course you get the one who's just kind of flying all over the place and causing issues, and so these kids, because when they were doing their training mission, it was like, I think it's supposed to be Thanksgiving weekend. They because they were fooling around, Eric Roberts was like, well, you got to stay on the base and do latrine duty and sit-ups and stuff like that for the weekend because you were bad. And then at the same time, in a location that's supposed to be much further away, but that is actually probably in the same location, we've got this special ops, black ops group led by a guy named Lassen, played by Revis Dorsey, who just got a big beard and is just supposed to be like the head of the special ops group. They get this box called the Crisper, which is a great name for a box because like when you get your refrigerator, right? That's where you keep the vegetables.
Yeah, the Crisper, or the
right?
Icebox,
Yes, exactly. So the Crisper has in it a biologically altered bioweapon kind of thing. And the whole deal is that they're stealing it from the Russians because if the Russians have it, I guess the Russians would use it, and they don't want the Russians to use it. So they're going to bring it back to the States, where the U.S. can create an antidote or a cure for it, using the virus itself. The problem is that their plane is damaged. They land at this base where there's really not a lot of defense or support or anything like that. But now they know that they've landed this base. They're going to try to lay low for a bit. Unfortunately, we have this schlubby guy in the group who calls his family. The character's name is Barrett. So we've got schlubby Barrett who calls his family on his cell phone, even though they were explicitly told not to call anybody. And the Russians know about this contact, and now they're coming for them. So now everybody's got to hunker down in this base here and repel the Russians, and then get this thing to America so that we can save the day.
So, what did you think of this one?
So I think there's a few things. I think one, as bad as it could have been, right? I think one, it wasn't like an Air Force slog, which I think is important, right? There's enough plot that goes on here that I think that the hardest thing for me is that Eric Roberts is like head and shoulders the best actor in this movie, and you've got this other guy, this Lassen guy played by Revis Dorsey, who's got his big beard, and he's like spouting off. He's supposed to be spouting off orders for them, right? But Eric Roberts is so much like the king. It's such a weird thing. It's like it'd be like going to like a cookout and having like the dad working the barbecue, and then having like some younger guy being like, no, you don't put barbecue sauce on that. You put, and it's like the dad knows what barbecue sauce to put on. It's like it was like a weird dynamic there. But and then of course we have like the guy, the Russian, who is like so goofy, like the accent. So
I know
goofy.
his accent was amazingly funny. It's like,
yeah,
I can't even do like Russian accent, but it's like, I'm Russian. It's like
right, exactly. Yeah, but on that score, I think there's enough goofiness going on, enough fun in this that like for 90 minutes, it's not. We've seen a lot worse from the Asylum. I guess you could say that.
I was surprised. I was entertained enough. I mean, like, you had enough Eric Roberts. Which I was surprised by.
Yes, exactly.
Eric Roberts, and they must have had him for a while. He got up. He walked.
Right.
He wasn't in a car seat. I gotta say, it was each time. He's in a car seat, but he's the guy looking at the screens, and you got my notes say just pile driver. That was one of the team names, right?
Right, yeah,
and Storm, pile
yeah.
driver.
Right.
That's great. And does he have an accent, Eric Roberts? I couldn't tell because sometimes his voice never sounds Southern.
Yeah,
And
I think it was I think he was doing a little bit of Southern in there too. Yeah, it's amazing. And the other thing too, I think when you talked about him being in the movie a lot, I think this is one of the places where the Asylum does a good job. Is that it's like, oh, we've got Eric Roberts for one day. Let's pack as much crap into this one day and
oh
have him
wow,
do it.
they did a great job. If he only was on set for a day, they packed almost like he was in the whole movie.
Right.
So I was impressed by that. And then you got one of the soldiers that come over to the base. She kind of looks like the Brat. Remember her?
Yes.
She's like
Functified.
the Brat. You got the cornrows. Like, oh yeah, it's the Brat is back. And it's like, remember the Brat? It's like
I would love it if the Asylum used Debrat in some of their movies
I'm
because
surprised they haven't. It's like Eric Roberts, let's see, Michael Paré, and the Brat. You get like one like kind of get more rappers and like singers from the '90s to do these goofy movies. You got Tiffany,
right.
and I think Deborah Gibson,
Yeah.
right there. It's
Yeah.
like she's hanging around.
So she does movies. So she's doing stuff. Debrat is in she does TV shows, it looks like. So one of them she does actually the Chai, or the Shy. I don't know.
Or the Shy.
The Shy, yeah. So
I was just looking into that show. I was like, wait, I think it might be good. I heard good things about it.
yeah.
I think it's like corruption in Chicago or something. Like,
exactly. Okay. Yeah. So she's in
that.
that.
I like that plot. So she's hanging around on that. Okay.
Yeah, and also Empire. She did an episode of Empire. So
great.
So she's doing stuff. But I mean, to your point, it's very much like PM. Like, remember PM in the late 90s where it would be like Corrupt, or Silk the Shocker, along with like Gary Busey and,
Yeah, or what's that? Hot Boys.
Hot Boys.
You got Silk the Shocker, and then you got, let's not forget No Tomorrow also has Master P.
Right.
Hot Boys, such a ridiculous movie. The most limited amount of Jeff Speakman you could ever get. It's
right.
like,
exactly.
It's like, wow, you get nothing on the Jeff Speakman, man. Oh my goodness.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, I remember when that was coming out, like, oh, Jeff, because I've heard, obviously I heard of Snoop Dogg, but I mean, like, I think I heard of Jeff Speakman and C. Thomas Hall more at the time, like Master P. And it's like, ooh, and Jeff Speakman, ooh. Oh, that reminds me. I saw something about The Perfect Weapon.
Oh,
it's coming out again. Speaking of Speakman, The Perfect Weapon's coming out on Blu-ray, and it says it has deleted scenes, about 10 minutes worth. Could those be the Mariska Hargitay scenes? I don't know. It's like we're getting ever closer.
That's interesting. So, quick sidebar on Mariska Hargitay. I went and saw a Knicks game in early January. She was at the game.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's like they did like a scene of her from Law and Order, and then so I do wonder like if they have footage of her, because I guess one of the things with this kind of footage stuff is like they might have to pay out to her, right? Because she was being a SAG actor, so you wonder if there's like little things like that, because now she's so famous, like if like having Mariska Hargitay footage be. But I would think on the other hand, it's like you if you were in a movie, like you'd want that footage out there. I know She's in
like 4. I don't think she says a word. Maybe she says like one word. There's more. I know there's more.
Yeah.
And I think she might fight some person. That's what I've been hearing for years. And it's like, why would you ever cut out these awesome scenes of Mariska Hargitay beating up people? She doesn't really beat up people in Law and Order.
Right.
She's the captain.
Right. Exactly.
Pretty good. I'm very behind on Law and Order SVU. Wait, you go back to Top Gunner. But I mean, but I'll get back. I'm still into the show. Just I need to kind of take a seat and watch more. Oh yeah, so Silk the Shocker, Speakman. What we're talking about? Oh, Top Gun. Yeah. So let me look at my notes.
Yeah. No, because we were thinking about with the Brat, like how
With the Brat.
I mean, to be honest, like with that role, with the role that because the woman you're talking about, she's a sniper who she does her sniping for a bit and then she gets killed off at some point. But it's the kind of role that an Asylum film normally, I guess depending on how they went about this, and maybe part of it was they put all their budget into Eric Roberts, and so they couldn't afford it, because there's nobody else of note in this. There's nobody else that you'd recognize in this, I don't think. I was trying to think the Marcus guy. He looks familiar, but I think when I looked him up, I don't think he's anybody who's done anything else that we would know. It's like, he actually did a Law and Order SVU episode, so it's.
Eric?
he
Yeah. So they, yeah. Well, I
no,
thought
not Eric Roberts. This the guy who played Marcus in
oh,
yeah. But
because when they say, I have this protect the crisper at all costs. It's
right,
like I just think of I put my drinks inside the crisper in my refrigerator.
right,
So it's just
exactly.
like I put my Celsius drinks in it. That's kind of an ad, but it's like check out orange. But it's like,
Yeah,
but
I
I put them in my crisper. I put my yogurt in my crisper. I was like, it's like I gotta protect my crisper. That's true. I do protect my crisper at all costs. Let's see. So yeah, Fairmont Eric, the Valkyrie has landed.
mhm.
It's like I have notes. But I thought overall, I thought this was it's a solid 90 minutes, just to kind of kill time with. You're like, all right, I'll watch this because it's really not that bad at all. That's what it
Yeah,
also in my notes. But it
no,
was
I
kind of a fun,
agree.
quick 90 minutes. And go, yeah, oh, good, you agree.
I think so. I think the thing with the Asylum that seems to be happening with them is that,
Yeah,
like back when we were first starting all this stuff in the late 2000s, early 2010s, Asylum was still kind of new to this kind of stuff,
right.
and they there were a lot of duds that would come around. Think of like Snakes on a Train, or like Transmorphers, or that
Right.
kind of thing.
And people just laugh, like, oh, what's this? But now they've gotten better over the
Yeah,
10 plus, maybe 15 years. And it's like this movie actually looks like a movie. I mean, like,
right.
looks like it has some sort of budget around it. And like, I like this, and let's not forget about, Asylum's connected to Tubi now, too.
Right, right.
Like, so they have some sort of budget around it. Like, these Asylums are getting better, I think.
Yeah, and I mean,
But,
like just thinking of the CGI in this, because it's
yeah,
all CGI planes. I think the CGI planes look fine. I think that, I mean, obviously that, they could potentially be better. I mean, there's CGI
yes,
planes.
he's like, I don't care about that because I know it's Asylum, and he just laugh.
Yeah,
What's
but I think it's better than it used to be, right? I mean,
100% better, 100%, because some of them look like just like computer animation from like 1992. Like
yeah,
it made Lawnmower Man look like.
yeah,
I just rewatched Lawnmower Man, which I think is a very overrated movie. And
right.
not that good, man. I mean, it's just not written well, and it's
Yeah,
just like and I watched that long version on my laser disc,
yeah,
so it took even longer to watch. So it's like
right,
like
right. Yeah,
sides and a laser to finish it, but it's funny how we used to use laser discs. I have to get up, got to switch the disc around,
you gotta turn it over. Yes,
and
exactly.
I forgot. Oh yeah, I gotta do that, but I don't mind. But yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, I would recommend this one. I'd recommend Top Gunner.
Yeah, yeah, I,
Uh,
I think so too. One of the things too, and just looking at the production companies on it, actually Comcast had the original distribution rights as sort of TV. So I'm wondering if like they, 'cause I'm trying to think what suite of channels Comcast owns. Like I don't know if they own
but
Sci-Fi, if that's one of their
they own
channels.
NBC.
Right, because
The
they own
Comcast company.
NBC. Yeah. I
They
know
own
like they own
NBC.
Bravo but yeah, so that was one of the ones because thinking about when this came out in 2020, but like you said, it seems like a lot of Asylum films they're on Tubi. Plex also has a good amount of them too, but it's almost like Tubi and Asylum are sort of this match made in
Like what?
heaven kind of deal, right?
Exactly. But I'm surprised that Top Gunner 2 Danger Zone isn't on there. But I don't care. I'm not gonna probably watch it. It looks kind of a dud.
Yeah, and I watched that. We were talking about this earlier that it's a friend of mine found hard coded Egyptian Arabic subs on
That's
YouTube.
amazing.
So I watched it with the hard coded subs. So I mean, obviously, I won't be able to review it until they put it back on streaming because unless that all my screenshots have like the Arabic script with a also they have a watermark for their site.
I
I
think
think
I
they're
saw
called.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So that's one of the things with YouTube. You YouTube YouTubers out there, like, I understand the subs because that's the whole point of doing the thing, but the having your logo or something on the movie, like get out of there with that. Like,
well,
it's
that's the
just
thing. What's funny, like who are the people who are popular on YouTube and like Instagram? Mr. Beast. I hear a lot about
right.
him.
Yes, I hear
I
about him
was at
too.
Target the other day, and he has his own chocolate bar now.
Yes,
It's
I
the
saw
Mr.
that in
Beast
the
bar.
grocery store.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I, I mean, I get it. The guy's what rich. He helps out people. That's awesome. Are
Right.
you gonna try the Beast bar? I mean,
Yeah,
like, or did you buy? Did you buy the Beast bar?
no, I haven't touched because it's like he's this like, weird guy with this drippy look on his face,
Yeah, I
like
know, right?
like he's got
Like
his
trying
mouth
to be
open, like,
nice.
hey, and it's like, why
Look,
am I
it's
buying
me.
this?
I'm a Mr. Beast. Like, who's Mr. Beast? So, like, if you're like
Right,
a regular like
exactly.
person, like let's say 45, 55 to like 75,
Right.
You don't know who that is, like Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
It's like, and then the next two words are "shut up." It's just like,
Right.
it's like
Well,
you have to say that.
one thing I read about Mr. Beast was that
Yeah, what's
he
up?
was supposed to be on that submarine that like that thing
Oh,
that was supposed to
really?
explode the Titanic. Right. He was offered money because I think it was one of those deals where they were gonna, he was gonna go on it and then like film it for his YouTube channel, and it
I
would
go,
get
"Hi
like
guys, Mr.
right.
Beast. Hi guys."
Exactly.
It's like I'm in a sub. Hi guys.
Like,
It's like, oh, I'm dead. Bye guys. It's
right,
like
hi guys. Oh, looks like we're dying. Whoop.
we're
Then like the whole
dying.
thing
We're
cuts out. Right.
imploding. We're imploding. Bye guys.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so that was like his. I don't remember if it was like something where it didn't work out for him, or if he actually like
Maybe
talked
he
to
saw the
somebody about
proof.
it and they were like, "Don't do this." I can't remember because there are some other people that I guess were going to do it, and they like talked to other people and they were like, "Yeah, no, this isn't really that tested." But Mr. Beast was one of them. He was like, yeah,
That's
he was,
hilarious. It's like
yeah,
maybe someone wants to, kill Mr. Beast. It's like maybe he's like I don't really. I guess I haven't really looked at, but his name is stupid and drives me crazy. So it's like
well, the name.
I can't give him. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the name and the look on the face on the
Yeah,
products when you're in the grocery store. It's like when you're in
yeah.
the grocery store, you don't want to see some dude with some big drippy face like staring at you. Like it's just
He was
it's
staring
weird.
at me at Target. It's like, don't stare at me, Mr. Beast. Do not stare
Exactly.
at me. I'm not buying your Beast bar. I don't have
No.
because it hurts our. My teeth are fine, but
Right.
you don't have too much chocolate. Or it hurts your
Right.
teeth.
Yeah.
So it's just like, but it's just like, I'm not buying your Beast bar. I'm not giving you any money.
Right.
It's like.
Right. Yeah.
I think it was like $2.95 because of inflation too. It's like I'm
Yeah.
not buying a $2.95 chocolate bar from Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
It's a great way to end this segment. Limited talk about Top Gun, all about Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Well, no, and I think so I went on
it's a hit.
the IMDb page. Somebody said this is excruciatingly boring. They said, I'd rather climb up Mount Everest naked and freezing than spend another minute of my life on this bundle of garbage. Please do not watch. Now, I think if you go into an Asylum movie and you have this mindset that the movie's going to, like if an Asylum movie hurts your sensibilities so much that you're going to make a review like that, this movie's not going to be for you. I think that's probably another element of
It's
this
like,
is that,
that's a good point. These people don't, I guess they still don't get it, even after
right,
like 15, 20 years of the Asylum. We
right,
still don't understand that these movies are kind of junky. It's
yeah,
like, you're going to have to be prepared for this.
yeah,
You have to
yeah,
watch B movies for like we do all our lives. And you go, okay, it's the Asylum, huh? All right. All right. All right. I'm prepared. Okay. And then that's what you say. And then that's it. Let's tell the
yeah.
truth there. It's like,
And-
it's a Top Gunner. Hey, I was supposed to watch this. Isn't Tom Cruise. It's like,
right,
I
exactly.
thought this was Tom Cruise from Hover Around. It's like, not that Tom Cruise.
Right. Yes.
Like,
Which would have been amazing. I didn't even think of that. That
yeah.
is like the best way that they could have done this is if they
Yeah.
had his name on the title. So it's like Eric Roberts and Tom Cruise, but like with the hover round name.
Yeah.
That would have been the most amazing thing. It was like that movie. What's that there's that direct to video movie that has like all the brothers in it. And they just put the last name, so it's like Swayze and
Swayze, Estevez.
Estevez, right? Mitchum, is Mitchum on there?
Mitchum, maybe. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
oh no, it was Money to Burn, right? It was Swayze and Estevez, and wasn't there one more? Who said it? No, me.
Not
Maybe
not
Stallone.
Frank Stallone. Was it Stallone? Was it Frank Stallone?
What was Money to Burn? I mean, that movie's really bad. I mean,
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, like, that hurt my brain. I bet it's funnier now, but still bad.
Yeah.
Why can't I think of it? But McQueen, Chad McQueen.
Oh, that's right, McQueen. Yes, you got to have the McQueen. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so it's Swayze, McQueen, Estevez. It's like, ooh.
That's right. That's right.
So wait, so I'm supposed to be tricked that Steve McQueen is in a movie. He died
Right after he's dead. Right.
ages ago before Money to Burn.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Or well, I mean, another great one, of course, is Sniper Special Ops, where it's like Seagal and Van Damme, but it's Rob Van Damme.
It's Rob Van Damme. It's like,
Yeah.
It's like, and he was hilariously one in one of the best movies of all time, Wrong Side of Town.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So
I watched that fight again.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
Because I saved it before we talked. So it's still in my saves in my YouTube file.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I just watch it sometimes. Like, all right, I'll watch it again. It's like I think I've now watched it like 20 times. I never. I mean, I can't stop watching it because something about it is fun still.
Right.
I mean, I can't help but I wish the movie was better. I mean, You have to wait all that time for Batista, and you got Stormy Daniels. I guess their documentary is out. It's supposed to be on Peacock now, but it's just like, of course, not Peacock. Are you kidding me?
Right. I know. We got to get to. I mean, there are a lot of these names that you could get in these movies. I mean, Stormy Daniels would be great in a Top Gunner. But I was looking up Tom Cruise, the KRUSE one,
Yeah.
and I guess like there's a deal because one of the things about the hover round, right, is that they were using. They were essentially trying to bilk the government for Medicare funds, and one of the things that their staffers would call up like people, elderly people who qualify for Medicare, and they would essentially just get them to get these things when they didn't really need them. And I guess like the Inspector General, and I think it says in 2015, forced them to pay like $27 million back to the government because they got reimbursements they shouldn't have gotten. So it's one of two things, right? It could be that Tom Cruise could use the money, so hey, throw him in a Top Gunner film, or it could be like they don't want to be associated with somebody who's trying to bilk the government. But I mean, 27 million. I mean, it's a lot of money, but it's not like he's going to jail for it or anything like that.
No, I don't want Tom Cruise to go to jail.
Right. Exactly.
They
still exist. It sounds like.
Oh, say it again. Sorry, Julia.
I was gonna say I think they still exist. I think they still do the hover round.
Oh, that could be the hovercraft also. It's like
yeah.
Well, yeah. So, but the thing about 27 million is nothing compared to what Trump has to owe with this government thing. I think it's tomorrow.
Right.
Talking about dates, like I owe $450 million. A lot of money. I think I can afford that, but probably not.
Right.
Alvin Bragg or Letitia James. I owe that money. It's like I don't know if he can afford it. I mean, it's like
no, well, because he's always leveraged. That's the thing. Is like he's like, but he sells a lot of like different Trump products that people buy. Because
he has the Trump shoes. And I think I saw the Trump, like he's the Trumpinator. Like he's like a doll. Like I'm the Trumpinator. I got my glasses on. I'm totally gonna defeat Ray Davis.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what thinking.
I think he stands to get roughly like $500 million from this whole Truth Social merger thing. So he's like supposed to get like a bunch of money for that, but
merger.
It's like, yeah, there's a merger with Truth Social and something else is like merging, and so he's like making some big money off of that. But like, one, I don't think the money will come in time, but two, I think there's like something up with the money, getting the money. Like he can't just like just because he's getting $500 million from this, he can't just like take it and spend it. Like I think it's like maybe like in stock options or things. I don't know exactly what it is.
It's not
like,
liquid, right?
Right. I think that's the issue. So it's like, yeah, he's the other thing too that's great about like, so he's got the money he paid. He's got to pay the city of New York, and then he's also got the E. Jean Carroll suit. And the E. Jean Carroll one is great because it's like he just constantly goes on these rants about her. And it's just like the lawyers for her must just be like, okay, let's go file another suit. Let's get another 20 million out of him because he's just like, he can't stop. Like he can't stop defaming her. Yeah. He's becoming an ATM for her. Like
it's an ATM. Oh, it's an ATM.
I'm the E. Jean Carroll ATM. I just
just open my mouth. I get money out of it. But not much. Right. All my money goes to Truth Social.
That's right.
Retruthing. Yeah. Like, he's trying to say retweet. It's like I'm truthing. It's like
right. Yeah.
I think he said retruth like on TV because I watched like an interview of him. It's like I'm just retruthing on Truth Social.
Yeah, I mean that whole thing. The only reason why that thing is worth anything is because he's on it, and it's like, but it's
also Michael Madsen. I'm on Truth Social.
Yeah, I don't know who else would be. That's a good point. I don't know who else is on there. Like, Neil McDonough. You feel like he's got to be on there, right? Kevin Sorbo, like they've got to be on there.
Sorbo, yeah. I wish I could do impressions of those. It's just sort of like,
yeah.
I don't play. I don't retruth. That's it's like. Anybody else? I'm still on Truth Social. It's me now.
Exactly. Well, it's like Alex Jones. He got reinstated on Twitter. So he's like false flag. I'm on Twitter. Don't look for me on Truth Social. I'm on Twitter. It's a false flag. It's a false flag.
I haven't checked in on him, but don't forget to watch Amerigeddon.
I know I haven't seen that one yet. It's funny. I've been meaning to because Will from Exploding Helicopter did an episode on it, and it just sounds so over the top.
It is. It's just funny, and you got Alex Jones, the Senator Jones, stuff there, and the guy who like owns Curves Gym is like in the movie. He's like the hero. It's really, Also, Annalyn McCord's also hanging around in it. And it's just
Oh, yeah.
so it's like, there you go. There's your winner of a movie right there. Plus, there's that movie that's coming out soon in the theater, Civil War, as Kirsten Dunst and Fat Damon. Or I'm sorry, yeah, what's his name? Jesse Plemons. But it's like, sorry, that's what that's what it looks like to me. So did you see this thing where?
No. So Kirsten Dunst has a movie coming out in the theater?
Yeah, it's what's it cost like a lot of money. It looks like Amerigeddon. It's like, so Amerigeddon, apocalypse is upon us, of like, or maybe the hunt where like there's people, like it's a world war happening.
Yeah. A
And,
journey across a dystopian future. Yeah.
and I think Nick Offerman is the president with no mustache. So it's like
Right.
almost unrecognizable. Like
Right,
he's
yes.
on relic. It was like,
Yeah, because he got
I
like
know
the
it's
beard in his picture, but yeah.
like,
Oh
can't do
man.
the impression, but it's like I can't do it. But it's like, but he has that distinctive voice. I think Parks and Rec was a funny program.
Yeah.
But we should probably go to our next thing.
Yeah, so maybe we'll take a break here. Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
final thoughts on Top Gun. I think the big
go
thing about Top Gunner is I think this isn't like the best Asylum ever, but it's also like far from its worst. And it's the kind of thing.
Done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a fun like time killer. I don't know if it's like a bad movie night kind of movie. Like I don't know, like you get like get a whole bunch of people.
Not
Yeah.
that goofy. That's a
Yeah.
great. I was like, yeah, it's some funny, goofy. There's some light, goofy ones, but not enough for like a Amerigeddon or like a Phoenix.
Right.
But,
Yeah, it's definitely nowhere near the level of a Phoenix, right? It's definitely not like for an Asylum movie, it's more like for somebody. The thing with this movie, it's less like, okay, everybody's hanging out for the night. Let's do some Top Gunner and make fun of it while we're eating snacks or whatever. This is more like the kind of one that you text a friend and say, they like, oh, what are you doing? I'm watching Top Gunner, and they get a kick out of it. Like that's kind of the way this movie is.
Exactly, and that's what I do when I talk to my friends about watching.
Yeah.
I go, what? Oh, okay. Because he knows movie garbage things, and it's like,
yeah, exactly.
And it's just like, yeah. So I would check this out if you're just kind of milling around Tubi and you're just like, oh, Top Gunner. Oh, all right. It's really not that bad.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a fun time. So yeah, so what we'll do here, we'll take a break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about Top Gunner: America versus Russia.
America versus Russia. Guess he's coming back.
It's the early 90s in LA. The war on drugs is raging, and Detective John Bainbridge is the LAPD's secret weapon against crime. Former Special Forces in Nam, he's a cop on the edge. When he and his partner Geary uncover a potential human trafficking ring, it doesn't take long before John Bainbridge realizes this thing goes all the way to the top, which doesn't scare him. That just means they'll fall that much harder when he takes them down. Part send-up and part love letter to early 90s action films, Bainbridge will take you back to the golden days of Canon, PM Entertainment, and AIP. You can get it in paperback or on Kindle and Kindle Unlimited from Amazon. Follow the link in the podcast description. My newest novel, Don's House in the Mountains, is available now. It follows Don Veazey, who after 20 years has finally made it as a writer, going from an AP English teacher to richer and more famous than he ever could have imagined. In the process, his wife Lois, feeling alienated and resentful of her husband's success, has filed for divorce, forcing Don to move to a house in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. With time alone to reflect, he's able to see how his new wealth and fame has affected his life in ways he never expected. Maybe the biggest of these is his new house, which is bigger and nicer than anything he's ever had in his entire life, but the longer he lives there, the more he gets the sense that it might have magical powers. But that can't be right. A house can't have magical powers, can it? Pick up Don's House in the Mountains today. You can find it at Amazon in paperback and in Kindle.
All right, we are back, and we're going to look at our second of two Eric Roberts Asylum Top Gunner films here. We're going to look at Top Gunner: America versus Russia. And I think one of the key things, yeah, exactly. I mean, this one's definitely much more bonkers than the previous one. But one thing to keep in mind here is that Eric Roberts is not reprising his role from the first movie.
No, Herring.
Yeah, he's President Jeremiah Stewart, so he's not Colonel Herring anymore.
Yep.
I don't know why I guess I don't know what made them decide to go this route with it. There's also no explanation for why this movie was made because it's not attached to a Top Gun movie.
I think I get because it's topical, because Sarah Pearson talks about Russia a lot.
Right, exactly.
Donald Trump and Jeremiah Stewart very close to Jeremiah Trump.
Right, exactly. I mean, the other thing I wonder too, I wonder if with Top Gun, when Top Gun had so much success,
Mhm.
if maybe there was a sense of like, okay, if we get this thing out, we can capitalize on sort of like now Top Gun Maverick is making so much money on like the streaming market. I don't know if that was maybe, or if maybe they found that the first two Top Gunners, especially the first, I bet the first one in particular, with Eric Roberts, if it just did so well that they were like, let's just make a third one here, and who knows, maybe they'll keep making them. You never know.
I don't see a Top Gunner 4. It's like
Right?
the minute there's
Exactly.
3 of them in like a very quick succession. It's like every other day is Top Gunner.
Exactly. Yeah,
It's
and the way the Asylum can pump these out, yeah, it's definitely they know what they're doing here with this. So just to give people a sense of what the second movie was, the second movie was just there's some terrorists who plant a bomb on a plane, and it's one of those deals where the plane can't go below a certain altitude. So once it hits its cruising altitude, and an actor named not Matthew Broderick, it was a different Broderick. And he wasn't related to Matthew Broderick either. He's like an army guy who's like trying to help Michael Pare find the bomb.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
but now we're on this classic third one.
So the third one here. So yeah, this one is a fascinating movie. So I'll do a quick synopsis here. Essentially, what's happening here is that Eric Roberts is the president. A guy named Gary Pooh. I think I'm
Yeah.
pronouncing it. So it's P-O-U-X. He is the vice president. And for some reason, as the vice president, he's involved in a lot of stuff. Which I mean, Dick Cheney was pretty active as a vice president. And usually, vice presidents just stand by and make appearances and things like that. They don't really
Dick
get
Cheney.
involved.
Remember he shot that guy in the face, and then the guy apologized to him.
Right. Yes, exactly.
I'm sorry, I got in your way of your buckshot.
Right, exactly. Yes.
Forget
Yeah,
that.
Dick Cheney was a fascinating one. One of the funny things is Shark Attack 3, the Megalodon. I think it's the only one, maybe those are presidential portraits, which we'll be getting into in a little bit, those presidential portraits. But it's the only time I can think of where they had a vice president with the president. But with Shark Attack 3, they did make sure they had George W. Bush, and then on the other side of like a thing, they had Dick Cheney as well. So
You never usually see that, but we'll get to that. Yeah.
right, exactly. But yeah, so what's happened here is some American fighter pilots get killed by a ghost, right? A Russian
Yes.
fighter. They can't figure out where this person is or what they're doing. At the same time, there's like an experimental plane that they're working on, and then at the same time, the defense minister of Russia is like planning a coup against the president of Russia. So the president is played by Alex Vaidov, I think his name is. I think he looks similar to someone who's been in other stuff, but it's not the same guy. It's not quite
I know
that
what you're
guy.
talking about.
Yeah,
It's a different guy who looks like the other guy.
right. They kind of bronzied him. They kind of Robert bronzied him. Yeah. So but so that when the coup doesn't work as planned, the defense guy ends up killing the president anyway, and he's planning a strike against America. So first he's using these fighter pilots that can't be beat, and then he's also doing a nuclear strike. At the same time, we have a woman, her name's Veronica, who's in Russia, which is not Russia, but it's supposed to be Moscow. She is like going behind the scenes for the vice president to try to get a second coup of people with this other guy, Chernigov, who's like another defense person who was more loyal to the original president. So she's trying to do a secondary coup. And then we've got these fighter pilots who are trying to figure out what is going on with this radar that they can't see.
Firefly and Footloose, right?
Right, exactly. Yes, and Firefly seems to have the ability to understand. Played by an actress named Kayla Fields, who looks very familiar. I feel like she must have done a lot of commercials because I don't recognize any of the movie roles that she's done. Yeah. But she figures out.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say she figures out that. Oh, right, she's in the new Exorcist, right? The Exorcists.
Exorcist, that newer one.
Yeah, she's in that. She plays a doctor. Is that an actual movie or is that an Asylum film? That might be an Asylum film as well. She yeah, because only an hour and 25 minutes. I think it's another Asylum movie. They're fooling me here with they got us here. They got me, or they got me at least. They got me thinking it was an actual Exorcist movie when actually it's an Asylum movie. But anyway,
the new Russian evil pres is named Borovsk.
Borovsk, yeah, right, exactly. Borovsk, yeah,
Great.
yeah. and so the deal is we've got to get this coup to happen as soon as possible. At the same time, we've got to figure out why these Russian fighters are stealth. And Kayla seems to have figured that out, but it's like a satellite that she has to blow up or something. At the same time, our president Eric Roberts gets hit in the head with a fake rock.
Yeah,
And
that was ridiculous. That was
Right.
hilarious. Though, but it's like that was one of the funniest parts of the movie. It's like you got hit by I almost didn't even notice that for a second. It's
right.
like,
It's like, wait, what's
you
going
got
on
hit
here?
by a fake rock.
Right. So that incapacitates him. So now the vice president is the president while this crisis is happening, and hopefully he's able to navigate us through it, and we don't have World War III. But also keep in mind that this is not the Russia that we understand it to be. This is not Putin. There is a war with the Ukraine, so there is a
Yes, there
Ukraine
is.
war. And there's a sense that this new president who's taken over wants to end the war in the Ukraine, but there's even that's like a kind of we don't know exactly what's going on. It's all kinds of fugaziness, but it's bonkers. It's like the new Russian history is bonkers. The president is and vice president, all that stuff. It's kind of it's a crazy asylum fest, I guess. So yeah, so Ty, yeah, what did you think of this one, Ty?
I thought it was I thought it was even better in the first one because there's just something wrong with it while you're watching. It's just like because it has all these great bits in the beginning. Because I wrote down a bunch of notes, which is there's a lot of this Pentagon. They talk about this Pentagon red tape. Like Pentagon moves at a snail's pace,
Right.
and they're having a peace settlement in the Ukraine, and then he's like they're losing. They'll do what we decide.
Right.
And then I think Eric Roberts says there's like the guy like the guy who's like running the army or whatever is like we don't have time to talk about the fax fighter program. It's like,
Right. Yes, the FX fighter. Yes. Yeah.
fax, and it looked like it said fax on the subtitles.
Right.
And then Eric Roberts says we don't have the votes to keep your Wonder Jet funded.
Right.
And it's like okay, I'm liking this. I actually rewound it a couple of times. I had to get all this great dialogue, and then like we don't be funding a third world war.
Right.
And you also, when Eric Roberts is at the summit, like the Russian peace summit, he's wearing a really weird suit. Do you remember that? Like, I had to explain what it explains on audio, but it's like there was something wrong with this suit. Like it was like I don't know what. It looked tight, and then also it looked loose. It's like
in the middle in particular, because like if you go to IMDb, there's actually a picture of him in it because he's like he's with the president guy. You can't see the whole suit, but like it's interesting because like you talked about where it's because it's loose at the top, right? The tie and everything is like moving with him where the suit is staying behind, but then it's tight in the middle because he's like
really tight.
The buttons he's got buttoned up there. It's a weird fit, like you said. It's really interesting.
It's an odd fit because I don't think he went to Men's Warehouse to get that fitted correctly.
No,
so it's just like. And we gotta love President Vasilev, the original Russian president.
Right.
Nothing like Vlad at all, a certain Vlad dude. And just like
well, because I think with this alternative history that they have here, I think it's supposed to be that this guy is essentially he takes power from, but they don't explicitly say that it's Putin. But I think that's the idea that with this alternative history that this guy sort of and the war with the Ukraine is still happening. And then there's like even the way that they're talking about the war in the Ukraine, where like Eric Roberts is like, well, they could whatever land that the Russians were already taking, you just keep it and not worry about giving it back to the Ukraine. It's like, well, no, I think they.
Said.
Yeah, I think that the Ukrainians don't want that, and it's very interesting the way that. And I mean, the other thing too with Eric Roberts, I'm kind of bouncing around a bit here, but he, as a president, he's just very much like, whatever you want to do, that sounds good to me.
It's like then he becomes forceful for a second to not fund the Wonder Jet program.
Exactly. Yes. Which in itself is a funny thing because Democrats, especially Democratic presidents, but Democrats in the sense of they're just as likely to fund huge expense budgets as Republicans. It's like kind of this myth, but like everybody's spending a huge amount on budgets. And the reality is that the Wonder Jet plane.
Yeah.
The way that would actually get funded is that a company like Boeing or another aeronautics company, they would get the money to make it. So Gary Poo would be hanging out with he'd be going out to like fancy dinners in Washington with the CEO of that company or a lobbyist for that company. That's really what would happen. It wouldn't be like, oh well, because Democrats are in office, your Wonder Jet's getting unfunded. Like none of that makes any sense. Like there's some real like some fancy steak dinners that he'd be going to get that jet funded. That they didn't show any of it.
I was trying to figure out what political stance Eric Roberts was.
Right.
Like, obviously they have to make it like right down the middle. It's
Yes.
like, but
Yeah. Right.
so maybe I just answered my own question, but it's just like, because it's like, first they want, is he Republican, is he Democrat? It's like I couldn't tell, maybe kind of a little Trumpy, but not Trumpy.
Right.
It's like I couldn't really tell, but it made me laugh because like, okay, obviously you cannot make it, you cannot, but you could. But it's like that's why that's not with the American president. I think he is a Democrat, Michael Douglas. As
Oh,
that movie, remember that one? American Michael Douglas plays the American president.
oh, right. Yes. Yes. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
First off, the movie is boring, but maybe it's not for me. It's
Yeah.
just like watching.
Yeah. I mean, what was
But
it? There's a scene where like he buys Annette betting a Virginia baked ham or something on their first date. It's like, what are we doing? Like, what are like what?
This is my I think we posted the podcast, or when did we post? Did we post the podcast? Yeah, we did. And I was kind of ranting about Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
I don't, maybe because I think I don't like Michael Douglas, which all of his movies is kind of smarmy.
Right. Yes. Exactly.
And it's like, I'm kind of the smarminess. I think, was he smarmy as the president? I think he kind of half was.
Yeah.
I kind of blocked out the American president because, it's kind of a snooze. But
Exactly. I mean, the thing with Michael Douglas, the one good, good one that I would say was I liked his voice work in Ant-Man. Like I liked when, when
voice.
Yeah. That worked, but beyond that, I agree with you. I mean, he did essentially like the three, like kind of the trifecta or the trilogy of white male angst movies, right? So you've got Fatal Attraction, where it's like he hooks up with Glenn Close, has an affair with her, cheats on his wife with Glenn Close, and then suddenly it's like, oh, you got to go, and then it's like, oh, look at how crazy Glenn Close is acting, even though like I treated her horribly. And then you've got the Falling Down movie, right, where it's just like white male worker, angry angry white male guy shooting up every whatever. And then you've got the one with Demi Moore, right? That's like, sexual harassment is like all over the place in the world at that time about,
the movie is very messy. You should rewatch it because it's not really about, it's like half sexual harassment, half about virtual reality.
Right.
So
right.
I completely deleted the virtual reality part when I watched it back in late December.
Yeah.
And it's like, right, virtual reality. The movie is real slow because it's about 2 hours and 15 minutes. You feel that like extra 35 minutes.
Yeah, what it was called Disclosure, right?
Disclosure, yeah.
Disclosure, and
it's Miller, babe.
Yeah, exactly. It was like sexual harassment's all over the news, right? With like with the whole Clarence Thomas thing, and the William Kennedy Smith.
Very smarmy and annoying in that too. So that's why I'm mad at Michael Douglas right now.
Yeah. So
that's my rant at the moment. But
yeah, and of course, Basic Instinct. Of course, that was
it's a classic, but he's an anchor on it.
Right.
I think obviously he's the main character. That's a huge problem. But it's just like, I thought he's a freaking albatross in that movie. It's like, this is what I said. I think it says I'll just repeat what I said in a podcast. But if he smiled more, I think it'd be, as we all supposed to tell women, right? You can smile more. But if Michael Douglas smiled more, I think it'd be a better movie. Basic Instinct. Just smile. It's like,
I agree with that. I mean, I think the other, I mean, Streets of San Francisco, I used to watch that show, so he was good in that. But I think the voice work thing is where I think Marvel should just like have him just doing like Dr. Pym voice work. Like he should just like he should narrate movies. He should just it's like this new Deadpool movie. It should just be like there should be scenes where he's like in Deadpool's head and he's like talking to him just to have that in it. But you're right. Like beyond that, I think if I guess Michael he's close to 80 now, so he probably doesn't need that much
almost
more. Almost
80. Wow.
Yeah, he was born in 44, I think.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yeah, but I think that's how old he is. He's got kids because he had kids with Catherine Zeta-Jones, so he's got like younger kids. But yeah, he was born in 44. Yeah, he's going to be 80 this year. So yeah, September he'll be 80. Yeah. Oh, it's funny. It actually puts his political party as Democrat. It's
one. Oh, that's what it says.
Yeah,
that's 9dB. But also another thing I thought was funny in Top Gun: America versus Russia was when there was that coup attempt, of Eric Roberts.
Yes, right. Yes.
And eventually the assassin, gets killed.
Yeah.
But like someone said, "What happened?" Assassin died of gun wounds, sir.
Yes, that's right.
It's like that's Okay, you can
because they
say it
wanted to
that way.
question him, right? Because Eric Roberts like, well, let's question the assassin, right? And then these guys like,
Yeah.
assassin died of gun wounds, sir,
Yeah, yes, died of gun wounds. It's
or
like
something like that, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, something like that.
died of gun wounds, sir. That's so guys, I thought this was even better in the first one, but I guess I watched them back to back. And
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I mean, this is kind of so this is more low rent Asylum than the first one
yeah,
was.
that's what made me like it maybe a little
Yeah.
bit more. You know, I still like the first one.
Yeah, I mean, with Russia, like they aren't even trying with Moscow. The scenes that are supposed to take place in Moscow with the woman, the CIA agent, they're not even trying. It's like they show an establishing shot that may or may not even be Moscow, or it might just
Yeah,
be
no, it looks
a
like Russia. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it looks.
yeah. But then when she's on the ground, I mean, all of the cars have American license plates. They're all American cars. It just looks like, I don't know where this was shot, but it like they aren't even trying on that score. And to be honest, I'm kind of okay with it, right? Like I'm kind of, it's,
Because that's the classic thing. You have an established like, yeah, Russia, or sometimes they even say it,
yeah.
Russia. You know, it's like okay.
So this was
Sure.
filmed in LA. So those locations, because it does look like it's behind like a movie studio or something. Like it looks like a back like when she's supposed to be on the street, it looks like a back alley. And I guess that's because the only location they have is the studio in Los Angeles is where it was filmed. So my hunch is that they were just like, because there's like scenes where she's like walking around where there's like office trash and stuff in a back alley.
What's so funny about this? Obviously the best back alleys and studios are from New Image,
Yes.
where they go and says bookstore,
Yes.
and it's like you could have just called it like Walden Books. I know that's not around, but it's just like something.
Or even just a name, right? Jim's Books or something.
Jim's Books, yeah, Jim's Books. How about Randall's Books? It's
Right,
like
yes.
Randall Scanlon himself, which I actually have. He's in my notes here for. Oh, I know why. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think I forgot to mention we talked about Randall Scandal. He had a podcast with Lala.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I forgot to mention that in the last pod. I forgot to mention more. But yeah, I will say this: I thought this was fun. This is a good low rent kind of Asylum movie to watch. I think people would laugh at this more because there's more like wackiness in it.
Yeah, I think this is one that you could. I think is with friends, you could make fun of this one a little bit more and get a kick out of it more. I think
it's kind of fun because it's got all the Ukraine and the topicalness of all that stuff. So it's topical. I say totally topical.
Well, it's topical, but it's not topical. That's what's so funny about it. Is it's like this really because. Yeah, I mean, this movie is really working off the premise of, the Michael Jordan Republicans buy sneakers 2 line, right? Which is this idea that like we're going to make this as not political as possible. The only real political dig that they make is this idea that Democrats don't support defense budgets, which is just, again, it's not true. It's like, everybody's spending hundreds of billions of dollars on defense. Like everybody likes to spend a lot of money, because, again, it's one of those things where if you're a politician, it's hard when they take you out to dinner and it's a really nice dinner and they're giving you money and stuff like that. It's hard not to be like, yeah, let's fund another jet, and it's funny because they're making it seem like
self jets, with their Kobe beef dinners and their caviar teams.
Exactly. Yeah. Like of course you want to make new jets. I mean, the one thing that's interesting again is this similar to the second one, there isn't as much fighter jet action, which to be honest, I think is okay. I
want to mention that because they have those weird there's the cockpit shots and then it looks kind of like it's almost, I wouldn't give me a headache, but it's getting close.
Yeah.
So it's like I get what you're doing, but I'm happy they kind of tamped that down.
Right, exactly. Now, another thing this movie did that's different from the first one is they have real Russians in this movie. And I mean, when you go to their bios, they were all born in Russia. One of the things you can tell the difference between the accent. So in the first movie, where the guy's kind of really doing like a goofy Russian accent,
right?
Whereas in this movie, these actors actually do speak with a Russian accent. Some of the differences, like for example, ed endings on verbs, right? So like I lived, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Especially Alexander Borovsk, played by Pavel Kuzin, he pronounces the e in the ed ending, right? So it's like livid instead of lived, or strike it instead of striked. And it's interesting because someone who taught English as a second language to students, like that's a really difficult thing to learn. Like there's a whole chart of like how the ed ending sounds at the on the end of verbs. But it's one of those things like when you're doing an impression of a Russian accent, because as a native speaker, native English speaker, we just say all of these things correctly because we're just used to it. Like you just know. I mean, yes, we maybe clip endings like we will do gonna instead of going or something like that. But we just instinctively know how to pronounce an ed ending at the end of a verb.
And they
Yeah.
don't. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. So that's how you can tell we get more authentic Russians in this movie. So it's like the movie doesn't take place in Russia. It's supposed to, but it isn't shot there. And also the previous one we talked about was shot in New Mexico. Whereas this is like completely almost all on the studio and on the set there. I guess the Asylum must have their own studio.
they must make enough money from these goofy movies over time. It's just
Yeah.
like
They
must
hey.
have, right? I never watched Alien versus Hunter. I mean, that came out ages ago. But
Oh yeah, William Catt. That was a good one.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, that was a good one. Okay,
I shouldn't say good. Good is a very
well, I know what you
relative
mean.
term, but yes.
Well, that's yeah. I know what Jim. I know what you mean by Bill.
Yeah,
Catt.
I could see what I said about, but it's yeah. I mean, it was William Catt. I mean, just in particular, just you got to love having him and stuff. Oh, that's right. It had Dee Dee Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer's sister
Yeah,
was also in it. That's right.
So yeah, let me look at your review.
Yeah. See what we said there on that because yeah, so oh okay so
Yeah, I was looking at it. Yeah,
So yeah, I think what I was talking about is the fact that Alien versus Predator was kind of goofy on its own. So it's like, how do you do a silly, a campy send up of something that's already campy? And
That's a great
so
point.
yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, okay, why would I watch that instead of Alien versus Predator? Because Alien versus Predator was kind of a fun. I mean, that was just a fun movie the way they did that one. With Sanaa Lathan and yeah, but yeah, and so it's not horrible. It's not again. I mean, you can see definitely. I would say if you compare Alien versus Hunter, which came out in 2007, versus where we are now, 16 years later with CGI for the Asylum. I mean, the alien and the spaceships and things like that in Alien versus Hunter don't look anything as polished as what you're seeing with the fighter jets here
That's a
and
good point.
and the missiles too. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I watched reading a review of Phoenix, and it's good. It's a fun review. It's a great movie. I've been still on the verge of that movie for a few months now, and almost a year. And of course, let's not forget about the system. But it's like,
Yes.
but also before we finish on Spotlight on a fight, I do want to mention the Randall scandal. That's what I call him. I guess
Oh
Randall
yes. Yeah, absolutely.
continuation. So all I remember was that Randall and Lala had a podcast. I think it's called like "That's All Lala," or it's called.
Right.
And they interviewed Stallone, and like it's like Randall's like, yeah, me and Sly are like best friends. We're making a bunch of movies together, man. It's like talk about Rocky, and then it's like, oh, here we go again, Rocky. It's like, oh, Rocky's a movie I made. It's like 40 years ago. I know I'm old, right? And then Lala was like, she wasn't in studio. She was like on the phone or something. So it's like, she didn't really get to say much. But it's like, someone's like, you got a good podcast, though. Good podcast, yeah. It's like, Lala, you have really good questions. And her question was, how are you doing? It's like, it's like Rocky is a great movie, right? It's like, I just laugh. I mean, I wish that could have been a bit more in depth. But think about what Stallone's made of Randall Emmett. You got these escape plan movies, Expendables, they're all kind of goofy. So it's just like they only just mention them just as titles. He only talks about Rocky. It's like, well, I gotta go. It's like I gotta go, Randall. I'll talk to you next movie.
Because and the thing is with the rock, it is right that whole thing right with and I guess I wonder if maybe all the Rocky movies are on Max, but yeah, there's that whole thing with Stallone where right like he sort of lost the rights to, or he's lost the and now Michael B. Jordan is making these Creed movies, and then it looks like Lundgren might Dolph might even make an Avon Drago movie, but I think there is I think for us as fans of these movies, we would love to see more, even if he's not boxing, just like Stallone doing more Rocky stuff, I think.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I get that movie obviously affected him in his big career. But I mean, I'm saying in a nice way that he's made a lot of other movies, Stallone.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear more about that. How about Demolition Man?
Yes.
It's like, how about Cliffhanger? How about even Avenging Angelo or ICU?
Yeah.
It's always, it always goes to Rocky. It's like
yeah.
You can't stop. It's just like,
Yeah,
I'm just
that's a
saying
good point because I think Rambo obviously is his other
default.
big one. Expendables. I think if movies 3 and 4 had been better, he really created a character in Barney Ross in those first two movies that would have been like slotted in right below the Rocky and Rambo, right? Like
That's
I
true.
think,
It's
yeah,
like, but then he goes falls right back to his default Rocky position.
yeah,
You know, I know I'm just not being mean or anything. I'm just saying, just talk about the movies. We made like 45 more. How about Judge Dredd?
right,
That's
yeah,
not even that good. But I mean, like, I that'd be funny. It's like, oh, I go to Ramon Sante. I'm the law. I'm the law.
yes,
Ramon Sante, I'm the law. Law. So that's part of the movie, by the way. It's like law. It's like it's like. I think that's on YouTube. So Stallone says I'm the law, and then Ramon says law.
right, yes. Because
But
Amartya Sante, like one of the things about
where's
Judge
Amon?
Dredd, there's so many bad parts about Judge Dredd, but like Amartya Sante as a bad guy, he was a lot of fun if I remember right. Like
Oh, it's
that
fantastic.
was
I think
Rico.
that's yeah. Oh, no, good memory. I think that's another unfortunate one because I think they don't cut back to him a lot.
Yeah,
As now I'm getting obsessed with that. But it's like,
right.
if we could just cut back to Rico a bit more, that's all I have to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, get me that Judge Dredd. It's like,
Well,
it's like
because that gets back
Gotti.
to a point you were making about Deadpool, right? Is that, and I think you could also make this point about like kind of this Top Gunner being more fun than the
Yeah,
previous, the first one. If you have a really great baddie, you can do a lot more with a great baddie,
that
and it's
helps the
like,
movie for sure.
yeah, and, if you just let as the kids say, let them cook, right? If you just let Armand Desante cook, or like, in this case where we had this really great baddie, it kind of, it would have been good for it to be the baddie against Eric Roberts more than it was. But
Well, yeah, same with the specialist. That's a good example.
yeah,
That's Roberts
specialist,
explode. And Eric Roberts doesn't really do much, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, more of a James Woods villain, but
right?
it's like, Eric Roberts hanging around. It's like
Yeah,
you got your
yeah,
Red Tigers. It's like that movie's kind of weird.
right,
It's like
right, yeah,
his name is Ray Quick. Stallone. That movie, Ray
right,
Quick.
exactly, yes,
It was
yeah,
his other brother was Frank Slow. Like
right.
Ray Quick. I guess that could be someone's last name. I
Oh,
mean, if your
quick. Oh,
name was
yeah,
Matthew Fast, it's like
right, right. You could be Ray Quick. Yeah,
you're
exactly.
Ray
Yeah,
Quick, it'd be Matthew Quick. It's like,
yeah,
but I guess the final thoughts I have on this one is that I would check it out. I
yeah.
think it's fun. It's a goofy, fun time.
Yeah, and I would say too, for anybody listening, you don't have to watch any of the other two before this
That's
one. This
true.
is not has nothing to do with the other two movies. One other quick thing I wanted to mention is the presidential portrait.
Yes,
So
yes, yes, yes.
yeah, so this movie was directed by Christopher Ray, who is the son of Fred Olen Ray, who of course we all know Fred Olen Ray. He's done
Yeah.
so many great. He's up there, right, with like Albert Pyun as like one of the best DTV directors. Um,
And maybe even Jim Wynorski. It depends on the movies, but yes, I
yeah,
agree.
exactly. Wynorski, yeah, and so Christopher Ray has done a lot of stuff with the Asylum. Like Mercenaries is probably one that people know. That he did. The movie that barely has any Cynthia Rothrock in it, but does have
Yeah,
Zoe Bell.
Fly in the Rock Rock, but heavy
Yeah.
on the Zoe Bell.
Yeah, exactly. But so I don't know if he also has a thing for these presidential portraits like I do in these movies, where it's like I love seeing like like when they're in the official office and it's like there's a picture of
I know
George
you love
Bush or
those.
something. Yeah, but for whatever reason, Eric Roberts is in this office. It's supposed to be a White House office, which again doesn't look like a White House office. It looks like something from the set of The Office, the TV show. Uh, but the only thing on the wall is this picture of Eric Roberts as the president, just this
Yeah, that's
presidential
it.
portrait.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's one of the most beautiful things. I mean, when I review this one on the site, I'll definitely get a screenshot of that.
I think you sent me.
I sent you a screenshot of it when I was
Yeah.
watching. I was like, oh, there it is, the presidential portrait. But
Yeah. But it's funny that they remember that Dick Cheney was on Shark Attack 3. They don't have Trump portraits. I haven't seen any movies with
no.
President Trump. I mean, like I think obviously could avoid that
Yeah.
because
Well, I mean, I feel like I have to get it from a collector's standpoint, but we'll see. Then there's also Obama, which I don't think he's been in any of them either. I wonder if the practice like kind of started to end. I mean, obviously George W. Bush was in Shark Attack in 2000, but in the 90s you had Clinton in it, but it seemed like the one who had the most was George H.W. Bush, Bush 43, which
he did.
makes
The majority, yeah,
yeah,
But George H.W. Bush had a ton of them.
Right. Well, because also, right, even though he only served for the one term, his term was between 88 and or 89 and 93, which is like
It's perfect.
prime. Yeah.
That's the prime time for George H.W. Bush.
Exactly.
Read my lips, no new taxes.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So
I wish he didn't. If he didn't say that and he raised taxes, you goof.
right.
You probably would get a second term.
Well, that and the mistake he made that his son didn't make was that there was the Gulf War that ended really quickly, and then the economy tanked not long after, and it was like, okay, well, that economy, and then of course also Ross Perot took some of his votes, you notice when George W. Bush after 9/11, the economy tanked as well. And it looked like they were going to lose seats in the 2002 midterms. And he's like, actually, no, let's go invade Iraq and get ready to forget about that. And it was kind of
that's actually pretty clever.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of restarted. Suddenly, it was like all of the Democrats that would have tried to win were like, oh, what do we say? The whole rah USA thing going on. We can't be against the war.
It's like, it's good timing on his part to do that because then people forgot. Like, I guess we're. It's like
it's like, well, economy's bad, but we're at war, right? We gotta stick it out, And then by 2006 it had changed, but in 2002 it was different.
Like it's all about being in war, and then the war is still going on, kind of.
Yeah, it's like they kind of because Phoenix, right? Phoenix deals with the pulling the troops out, and we get Natalie Ava Marie making one weird comment where she says, "I didn't agree with the politics over there, but," and it's like,
yes, and that's you have to seek something of like that in.
Yeah.
In the movie Shooter, Marky Mark, he says, "I don't like this president. This is 2007." Yeah. Right? When he made that, it's like he didn't like the other president either. So it's just like he didn't like. I guess there was no Obama yet, so it would be George Bush, and then it would be Clinton. Yes. So he's like, I don't like this guy's politics or the other guy. He didn't say the name.
Right. Yeah. That's always the classic move too. Like I don't like any of them. I don't like any of them. And it's like, okay, that doesn't really help things either, right? If you're
but it's hilariously vague.
Yeah.
So I get a break because it's like, all right.
and that's kind of what this movie does with the whole Russia thing. It's like it's a fascinating thing that Russia is even a polarizing topic because it should be like a pretty obvious thing that everybody's like, yeah, this Putin guy's kind of not a good guy. It's like even when Tucker Carlson interviewed him, Putin was kind of giving him a hard time and stuff. It's like he's
I think Tucker's like, I best not drink tea with
exactly right. Like be careful.
Don't drink the tea.
Be careful if anybody stabs you with their umbrella at you. It's exactly.
Yeah, I know. But there's a guy on YouTube or something like that or Instagram. There's he does this amazing Tucker Carlson impression.
Does he?
And maybe I could find a video or something. But it's he pretends that Tucker Carlson's in the land of Oz or walking. Awesome. I'm in the chocolate factory. Why are these fat children? What are these Oompa Loompas?
Yeah, because he's kind of got a high-pitched voice. There was a video of him because he'd never heard of Aldi before. I don't know if you have Aldi's in.
I do have Aldi's. Yeah, we have one right near.
And so you got to put the quarter right in the thing to get your cart. Yeah. So I guess he had never heard of it before. So they showed him after he did the Putin interview, who's in Russia at an Aldi, and he's like, "Well, look at this. You see this? You put a quarter in here, so then you get your cart, and then you get the quarter back when you're at the end. When you bring the cart back, it's an incentive to give you the quarter back. So you're not like a homeless person taking the cart to an encampment or something like that. It's a really great idea." And everybody was like, "Have you not heard of Aldi? Did you not know that we have Aldi here in America and everybody knows this concept?"
Everyone does that. Actually, I'm terrible at getting the quarterback, but it's that's a whole other thing. But it's
I have trouble getting the quarter in, especially if it's cold out. I have trouble getting the quarter in to release the cart.
So, I just bring 2 quarters. Just here, 1 quarter for that, and an extra quarter. It's
Well, and the thing is, I was the other day I was there and I was putting my cart back, and a woman said, "Oh, here, I'll just give you a quarter and just take the cart." And I took the quarter from her because I wasn't expecting it. You know how sometimes you get those interactions with people you don't expect and you just kind of just do whatever. And then as I was walking, I was like, why did I take her quarter? It's like, what? I should have just said, just take the damn cart. I don't need the quarter that bad. So I kind of felt like a real cheap person who was like, oh, yes, I'm only giving you this cart if you give me the quarter, But it was like one of those things where I took it and I was like, oh, but then there's also a part of how do I get more quarters if I need them? So it's almost like quarters are like a valuable thing that you don't want to just be giving them away. So it's
valuable commodity. money, and Aldi has all the quarters. So
Right,
like,
exactly, right. That could be a great no
Aldi
subject
quarters.
movie, right? It's that like a grocery store chain wants to collect all of the quarters in the world to like do something with them. Who knows what you'd do with all the quarters, but it would be like a nefarious scheme. And so it's like,
I can do that.
yeah, everybody's getting their quarters stuck in the thing, and it's like, that turns out that's what the problem is.
Well, that's what happens. And but I guess we could talk about our last segment.
Yeah, so
That's
we'll wrap up here with the spotlight on a fight, and
Yeah.
this is maybe one of the best of all time, period.
Yeah.
So we were thinking about what to do, and Undefeatable kind of, because it was one of those things too where it was like, well, okay, let's we kind of had to think of something kind of short, because I think I'd kind of forgotten about the segment.
Yeah, me too. I was like, oh, Undefeatable. It was like,
Exactly. I was like, well, Undefeatable, it's on YouTube, it's there to check it out, but it is one of the best. I mean, I'm someone who gets very squeamish, so it is a little bit rough on that score, but it's so much fun that even for me, as someone who gets squeamish with certain things in movies, this still works here. So yeah, I guess I'll set the stage on it real quickly here. I mean, you've got John Miller and Cynthia Rothrock as our heroes, and then Don Niem, who I've only seen him in like one other movie. I think it's like this, and then like he has a small part in something else. But he plays Stingray, a serial killer, and
he looks a lot like Joey Buttafuoco.
He looks like Joey Buttafuoco, exactly. If they were going to do, if Godfrey Ho was going to make a martial arts version of Long Island Lolita, Don Niem would be Buttafuoco. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then I guess you maybe instead of Rothrock, you'd have Donna Jason as the Long Island Lolita. She would have been better for it. But so I think Donna Jason's being held by Niem, and then being confronted by Rothrock and Miller. They kind of like break apart. She like kicks him in the nuts, and she runs off with Rothrock. So then we get our first fight is John Miller and Niem fighting, and Niem Stingray, he's got a knife, so it's like there's the occasional slashing, and then they're kind of fighting each other, and then and it's like the sequences, like with the punches and the hits and all of those things, are really well choreographed. It's I think it's one of the underrated pieces of this fight scene.
People just laugh at all the glistening and the grunting. That's a pretty well made fight scene for a Godfrey Ho movie.
Yeah.
And we all love a good ninja thing, but I mean, like, they're not like it's actually a pretty good fight scene.
Yeah, and so you talk about the glistening piece. So what happens is after Niem slashes John Miller a couple times, John Miller then takes a chunk out of Niem's shirt when he grabs him. And so they both decide at this point, why are we wearing shirts? There's no sense in this. And they both take their shirts off, and like you said, they are glistening. It's a glistening fight scene at this point.
Yeah. And it's just hilariously perfect. I mean, it's only in like 1993 when it's like it's a real movie. That's the thing. It's not like a goofy fake cult movie or something.
Yeah.
And you can't help but just enjoy it. It's like, it's hilarious.
Exactly. And I know you guys in your I think it was the what was the movie? The other Godfrey, was it Honor and Glory? Is that?
Yes.
Yes. In the Honor and Glory review, you guys referred to John Miller as an American treasure.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's not more true. I mean, he's fantastic in Honor and Glory. Honor and Glory is just so ridiculous. Where he's just like, yeah, I'm going to cancel my meeting with Ronald Reagan or whatever. It's
something. Just hearing that sentence, it just makes him a national.
Exactly. Yeah, but it's amazing for what the fantastic martial artist he was. That he didn't have more roles, and I guess it's maybe because he wasn't. Because I see he did 21 episodes of Homicide: Life on the Street. So I'm wondering if because he's based in the Baltimore area or the DC area that he didn't do more stuff later. But I mean, it blows my mind that like more action films didn't want to use him in the 90s, because he's great in both of these films.
That's the thing, people see that scene like, this is kind of goofy. I'm not sure I can hire him.
Right.
It's like, see, that's look at this movie today. Look at even like silly movies people made fun of back in the day. Let's say Showgirls is a good example. Jessie Spano, she was destroyed by that. So it's just like, and then now she's back. It only took 20, 30 years.
Exactly.
And it's like now she goes to these like screenings and talks about it. It's like, but back in the 90s, it's like, oh no, I'm in a bad movie. Almost like Madam Web.
Right,
You know, I bet
right.
10 years, Dakota Johnson's going to be at some sort of screening of like a goofy screening of it. It's like, yeah, I love making this.
Right.
It's
Well,
like,
because
that's going to happen.
I do think one of the interesting things when you talk about that, because I remember with Elizabeth Berkley, I saw her. My friend and I went to the Craig Kilborn show in the audience in
Oh, it's right.
'02.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, she was doing Curse of the Jade Scorpion, the Woody Allen movie, and she was like kind of like the lead. You know, I think Hector Elizondo was there, and then Tyrese, of course, right? I think that must have. Did I mention that 'cause when we did the system?
I don't think he did.
We saw Tyrese perform at the Craig on the Craig Kilborn show. It was funny because the Craig Kilborn set was so small that the
Oh,
musical actually was filmed first, and
uh,
then but they cut it in so it would be at the end of the movie or the end of the episode.
right. Oh,
Yeah.
that's how, maybe they do that all the time because they're always
Yeah.
last.
Right, exactly. But yeah, Elizabeth Berkley was there. This was like kind of her first gasp at post Showgirls that she was doing a Woody Allen movie and kind of promoting that. But I think to your point, it was too soon after Showgirls for it to
Even
work.
5, 6, 7 years later. But it's like, but you know, people have that kind of connotation with it. You know, I should be talking about Undefeatable, but I did see on YouTube about Showgirls. Someone has like this promo reel,
Oh, nice.
like from while they're shooting the movie as a filming now in production, but they show footage from the movie that's not in the movie now. Like there's a part where Nomi or Nomi Malone or Jesse Spano goes into jail because she's like a prostitute or something, and she beats up some other hooker really quick. But I mean, like, why is that not in this movie? It's like I know movie,
Right.
but wouldn't that? We all know that Noe Malone and that performance is a bit wacky.
Yeah.
You know, not like yeah, it's a wacky movie. I mean, let's tell the truth here. But I mean, like the performance is a bit odd. It's just like it's like she's always mad.
Right.
She's mad like I'd say 90%, maybe 85, and being 85%. She's just mad.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
like she's like yelling at Tom McLaughlin the whole time and Glenn Plummer like the whole time. All that,
Right.
all she does is yell at Glenn Plummer. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's like I think that's hilarious. You know, Glenn Plummer, he's kind of my semi friend on Instagram.
Oh, nice.
And it's like, at first he's being good now, but he was being bad once. It's just like I'll say it. It's like I asked him about some of his other goofy movies. Like we're talking about the other movie now. I was like, thanks,
Yeah.
buddy. It's just like,
Okay.
it's like, yeah, Glenn. But he's
Yeah.
okay now. It's like,
Yeah.
he gets it.
Yeah, it's funny how some of those stars can be like that because it's like you think like Casper Van Dien where it's like every interaction is
Yeah, he
like
loves it.
yeah he just gets a kick out of it. Or like DeCoscos, right, where he's just like
He doesn't
he
care.
yeah he's just like excited that people really like his stuff and he's just like
Yeah.
yeah
You can get him to like, maybe even comment on her post. And it's like, well, Catherine Dean's the number one person.
yes
Number one.
yeah
It's like,
he
he
is
really
the best.
does care. I mean, like,
Yeah
you
he
can mention him in anything. It's like, okay, hey, thanks, man. It's like,
yeah
it's like that's great. And
I,
he's always goofy movies anyways. That's perfect. So it's just like, but yeah, so Undefeatable, yes. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Well, yeah, and I think the thing with so then what happens is you get the fight between so now we're shirts off and we're fighting. Niem he gets his disarmed from his blade, so so the blade has been disarmed. One thing I forgot to mention is when he slashes John Miller the first time, he gets some blood, he gets some red corn syrup on his blade, and he licks it off, right, to
Yeah.
show how depraved he is. But yeah, so their shirts off, no weapons, and they're really kind of going at it. And it's like the way that they're sort of they're kind of doing these in like the fight scenes in these segments here that are like multiple move segments that you wouldn't see it nowadays, because nowadays you wouldn't have a situation where like like maybe like John Miller hits Niem a few times, right? And have it all in one shot. It would be like these split second cuts that would just constantly like divert from the actual action that you're seeing there. And I think it's one of the things about that makes this one so good is that Godfrey Ho, he really focuses is that like it's a multiple move scene that these each segment, each scene is like multiple moves, and it's completely trained on that. It's not like constantly cutting. He cuts after the scene to show their faces and then goes back into it again.
That's the way you do it.
Yeah. So then we get to a point where it looks like Niam or Stingray might be able to get the better of John Miller. He's got his blade out and he's ready to get him. And then Cynthia Rothrock re-enters the fight, and she grabs a scarf or something like a piece of cloth, and she
Yeah.
wraps it around the hand. So now they're both fighting Niam, and this is where the scene starts to get squeamish for me.
Okay.
Niam gets kicked against the wall, and he gets his eye, like there's a nail sticking out of the wall, and
Yeah,
his eye lands on it. And so he's got this eye thing going on, and he's like screaming, but yeah, he's also still fighting with them, and of course
Yeah,
Rothrock. I forgot to mention Rothrock's her arm is injured, so she's fighting with one arm as well. So it's almost kind of like those old Hong Kong movies where they would have like the disabled fighters. It's like the one-armed fighter or the blind,
Yeah.
something like that.
That's one-eyed fighter. So it's just like,
Exactly. Yeah. So the fight continues, and it continues in a way that it starts to get more dynamic at this point, right? Where now that we've got Rothrock involved, we've got her like kind of flipping and tumbling on like boxes or like
you love the
containers
star.
and things like that.
Yeah, I think I might still have this picture. I can send it to you, but it's just her and him fighting. It's like this styrofoam everywhere.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And
love.
so we get towards the end, and then we get a hook that's used
Yeah.
to transport things, and we see it there, and it's like, oh boy, what's going to happen with that? And they end up kicking kicking his head so that his other eye is stuck on this hook, and they lift the hook up in the air. And of course, when this happens, when his head gets kicked into the hook, blood sprays all over Cynthia Rothrock's face. So her face is covered in Niam's blood or his corn syrup, and he gets lifted off the air, and he starts getting, and he's like screaming while he's like hanging on this hook by his head. And I'm trying to think. So Cynthia Rothrock's first line. What I can't. Oh man, why can't I think of the line? I just heard it yesterday. Is that we'll keep an eye out for you? It's keep
an eye out for you.
It is. We'll keep an eye out for you. Okay, I was right. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. So we'll keep an eye out for you, Stingray. Right. Yeah. And then John Miller comes in, and this is the Butner, right? Yeah. See ya.
yeah. See ya. It's like.
Yeah. Just an absolutely fantastic movie all around. I mean, the fight scene is the best part. That it's the fight scene itself. Again, like you said, people look at it as like this goofy thing because it has these goofy elements to it. Yeah. But the actual technical fight itself is something that's like it's next level.
At the time, absolutely, it's like this is, and you're watching it, you're having a great time. It's like you can't help but love it. I mean, like, because I know these China O'Briens are coming out soon on Blu-ray. It's like they don't have villains. They don't have villains. Their villain is like the town of corruption. It's like that's not a villain. It's like I guess I'm obsessed with villains, but it's like, but yeah, Undefeatable. If people have not seen this, watch it today.
Yeah. You've got to go out and see it. It's on all the free streamers here in the States. It's on Freevee. It's on Tubi. I mean, Tubi's the one, right? Yeah, it should be. Yeah, you should own it too. I mean, I think, like you said, with the Blu-ray that's available for it,
on tape and Blu-ray.
Yeah, because I mean, the two Godfrey Ho American productions, this one and Honor and Glory. I mean, I think this one is like another level, just because, like I mean, you talk about having a great villain. I mean, John Miller's a great villain in Honor and Glory as well. But I mean, the Rothrock in this is just absolutely fantastic. It's one of her best movies. I don't know where I can't remember where I put it on my top Rothrock list. Because again, I kind of have the China O'Briens a little higher than most people do.
Right. I think I must have put Undefeatable number 1. If it wasn't, it's even worse.
I think you had it number 1 when we did. So I have it number 2 behind China O'Brien. So I have China, because like China O'Brien's kind of more of a sentimental pick for number 1. But I think when we did the top 5 Rothrock, it was either on my podcast or yours. I think you had Undefeatable number 1 and I had it number 2.
So yeah, and those are good choices. So it's like good choices for that list. I mean, like, I haven't seen any Rothrocks lately. Well, we're going to actually watch Outside the Law very soon for the website.
Oh, nice.
It's in the VCR right now. We'll watch it very soon.
Yeah,
it was broken. I had to get it fixed with my tape guy.
Yeah, so that one's I was gonna say that was number 16 on my list. It's actually I have it below right after Irresistible Force. So it's up there as a
Yeah,
great
I've never
Rothrocker.
seen it, so I haven't seen Super Rock in ages. So it'd be nice to
Yeah.
have her back on the VCR. It's like because she's perfect for VHS. I mean, like that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, I can. But,
Right.
but yeah, it's a good spotlight. So I guess
Yeah.
I can let you go in a minute. Wait, I
Yeah,
have plugs,
do
right?
do plugs, but actually before we do plugs, I
Please.
want to that point you just made was a really great one about how VHS, how Rothrock was made for VHS. Because it's kind of like when you think of like 70s music that sounds better on like because everybody thinks music in general sounds better on vinyl than it does CDs or and
Yeah,
that's
it
not
sounds better. It's just grams on vinyl.
right, exactly. But like 70s music in particular, because it was made for vinyl, has
Yeah,
like a kind of a feel. And you're right, like Rothrock on VHS, it's like a better feel watching Rothrock stuff on
absolutely.
VHS than
Yeah,
on DVD or streaming.
yeah, exactly. It's like I have to watch a rock like on VHS because I think I said that to before, and it's like I really mean it because I need to watch. I most of my rock rocks are on VHS
Yeah.
on purpose. So it's just like
Yeah.
because I need and I have you have that comfort feeling. It's like okay, put your rock rock in your VHS player. It's perfect.
Yeah, yeah. I never thought of it before, but it is. It's like
Yeah,
the same as like listening to like, I don't know what 70s act, would come to mind, but like, like a Michael McDonald or something, somebody that was like big in like the earlier,
oh, as soon as you say
like,
Michael McDonald, I'm going to sing "Sweet Freedom."
right. Yeah. My sweet freedom.
Yeah, it's way
Yeah.
better. I don't have yours is amazing. I don't have
Yeah, yeah, I love that, Michael. But it's like, yeah, hearing something like that on vinyl, seeing her like another one I think would go in that category. I think maybe like a Don the Dragon, like with those blood fists and stuff like
yes,
that,
Don
like on
Dragon is perfect.
VHS.
Yeah, he's a VHS guy. Richard Norton,
Oh yes,
all
yeah,
VHS. But yeah, those are the top three VHS. I think. They're
yeah.
like,
No, you're absolutely correct on that. Like
yeah,
I never would have, because you wouldn't think because movies and music are completely different things anyway, right? Because in terms of like the media and stuff like that. But there's something about like popping in a VHS tape of a Rothrock film, especially if there's trailers too. It's like
yes.
and the trailer voice guy. But then like the movies themselves, they feel more authentic on VHS.
And another person who's also perfect VHS is Shan Tweed. Like
Yes.
Shan Tweed has to be VHS. It's like you have to, and like I'm looking at I have some of my collection I can see in while I'm talking to you. It's like Red Sun Rising. I see right now, and it's like that you have to watch on
Yeah,
VHS.
for Wilson, the Blood Fists and his PM stuff is
Yeah,
just like I mean, I think when you get into like maybe like moving target, maybe you can start to make a case for like, okay,
yeah, I can
it-
move the DVD.
yeah, but I mean, those other ones, it's just like, wow, yeah, yeah. I mean, Evan Laurie, I guess, is another one you can make a case for, like, just
Yeah.
from the meathead standpoint. But like, I mean, American Kickboxer 2 is a VHS.
What do we just
It,
classic? It's not even on another format. I mean, like maybe I'm one of these like junky DVDs or something, but just like that,
yeah,
I would like to see. Yeah, get the Blu-ray treatment. I don't really care as long as you get a anything Blu-ray is fine. I mean, like just people should watch that one. That's the whole. That's like crazy. I haven't seen that in ages. I need to rewatch that.
yeah, me too. I
I
probably haven't seen it since I reviewed it on the site. Would have
yeah,
been like
same,
15
same.
years ago.
Yeah, same here. It's like wow, that's a crazy movie, and I need to rewatch it. I wish I wasn't so. I'm always so busy. I never put tapes in. But
Well,
yeah, I'll figure.
exactly. That's the thing, right? Is that with what makes streaming so fantastic
Yeah,
and why it's sort of taken over
yeah.
everything else is that, not only can you watch it anywhere, but you can also start and stop it anywhere. Which is a huge advantage, right? That I can watch the first half of Top Gunner on a TV
Is
at
that what
my
you did?
house and the other half of the TV at someone or like a TV in one room and a TV in another. I don't have to bring anything with me or take anything with me.
Is that what you did? Because I did Top Gunner 1, 2, in two different places.
Yeah.
I watched all Top Gunner in one place and a little small portion of the second one, the first one. Then I would finish it the other place.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, this is well. Thanks for having me on. I'll do the plugs.
Yes. Yeah. We'll wrap up with some plugs here
Here we
as we finish her
go.
off here.
Comeuppance is the website. We posted a movie, which I cannot remember what it was. It's terrible plugging lately.
Yeah. I retweeted it, but yeah.
I oh, it was I don't. It was some. It was Fist of Steel, maybe.
Oh yes, that's right. That's what
Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Then Let's see. Tie Action Rocks is the Instagram where I post my tapes. I'm a little lazy. Not lazy. I'm just slow at posting tapes. I posted Midnight Comp like a month ago. I'm gonna
Oh,
post
nice.
X Cop. It's an AIP thing for April, and then
Oh, nice.
I watched that. It'll be reviewed soon. It's
That's
a
right. We're
silly.
already getting into AIP April.
That's true. April is upon us.
Yeah.
So, or is this maybe it's April and not when you're posting this? But it's like
Yeah. No, well, this is going to be the end of April. So for people
end of
that
April. Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
this is going to be posting at the well, maybe not. So we're just to let people know we're recording this at the end of March, but
Yeah.
when in April it gets published, yeah, it could be, but for whenever this is posted, it will be AIP April, just
Perfect.
whether it's in the middle or the end of April.
Exactly. So yeah, X Cop is a silly movie. It's like this old grizzled old man like going after like this criminal guy. It's very ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I'll post that soon. And then see Comeuppance Reviews, the podcast is everywhere you can get your podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Ty Comeuppance is in the Twitter X, which I don't. I just repost what these reviews and such. I don't want to fall into the Twitter hole. It's like,
yeah, you're good at that. I got to get better at it. Like you're good. You kind of come in. Okay, I'm posting my review, and then I'm going to do some retweets and get out. That's
See ya. It's time to be like John Miller or Chris.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. As Elon Musk or Twitter, as Twitter, right? We want to say Elon, we don't want to put, but as like Twitter is like hanging from a hook and like going out in the distance.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I think of it. It's like I put it on the hook and I just go. It's just like
exactly.
So other than that, I'll end on that laugh. So I'll stop.
Yeah, right.
Well, thanks again for having me on.
Yeah. No, thanks for coming on. This was another fun one here. We got some AIP April, but also Eric Roberts April. So we got a couple Eric Roberts is in on his birth month.
Also, I forgot. Are we doing Madsen May? It's like we can do this off air if you want, but it's like
yeah. Well, we can tease it for people though. That's what we're thinking about doing is a Madsen May. So yeah, and actually looking at when to post this episode, I could probably post it around the 18th for his birthday, for Eric Roberts' birthday, because the 18th is on a Thursday this year, so we could do like the 16th would be a Tuesday, so maybe that's when we'll post this. For people listening, you're listening to it on the date, so we're like discussing when we but yeah, we're thinking about doing a Madsen May to spotlight him. So a couple of Madsen movies.
Yeah, there's a lot to choose from on Tubi. I mean, what's that weird one, Born to Race?
Oh, that one, yeah.
Maybe you should sit through that.
Yeah, that could be an interesting one. Yeah.
Or I know there's that one called Machine, which I've been sitting on forever. It has Neil McDonough, who you mentioned. And then,
yes. Yeah. And gotta get some McDonough in there.
Yeah, I hear I'm sitting on that one for like 15 years. Like, I don't want to watch it. It's bad. Yeah. But I mean, like, trust me, I've seen worse Madsen movies than probably that. Ukum, Ultimate Killing Machine. Like, I'm in a building on Major Blevins. It's just like
Madsen is probably one of the best when it comes to you're browsing Tubi, and I mean, there's a lot of Madsen that you just that I just skip over, but there's also a lot of Madsen where it's just like, I could watch that maybe, and you put it in the queue, and then but you never watch it. But it's like. And then I'm cleaning out the queue, and I'm like, well, I don't want to get rid of that because that looks like a good Madsen film. I'll watch that at some point.
That's a great point. I put all my Madsens in a row on Tubi. It's just like, so I just typed them in and like add. And it's like, I know one of them I hear is not great, which is called Shark Season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like kind of a ripoff of the Narrows. That was called the Narrows. Shallows.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yeah.
So it's like, and he's just on a phone. And it's like, fake Blake Lively. You're my daughter. It's like, okay, I guess I could probably watch that. It's like,
yeah, I do wonder if it has a song that like that bites off of the Matchbox 20 Mad Season. So it's like Shark Season. I always love the way he said it. The Season, Mad Season. That's like, yeah.
Wait, who's the guy in Matchbox 20 again? What was his name?
Oh, Rob something.
Rob something. Right. Rob something.
Let's see. Rob of Matchbox 20. All right, that's the way to look it up.
Rob Marshall.
Like it could. Yeah, Rob Thomas. You're close.
Thomas,
yeah. I think Thomas Marshall. I mean, you were. It was definitely something that could have been a first name as well as a bad.
It was Thurgood Marshall. It was the old. It was the old judge from the day, and he had his own thing on Matchbox 20.
Yes. Well, that'd be great if it turned out he was. I'd love if he was related to him. If it was like, oh yeah, my grandfather was Thurgood Marshall. Really? Yeah, yeah.
Well, see, back in the late 90s, I'll let to go after this, but like late 90s and 2000s, you had like these people, like you're Rob Thomas and
Mhm.
you're Gavin Rosdale
Yes.
and you're, and you're Trent Reznor.
Yeah,
It's like
Johnny Resnick.
yeah, exactly. And you're like, Trent Reznor is like the perfect 90s name.
Right.
It's like, are you kidding me? And I think that it's supposed to have his real name. It's like, that's his name? That's perfect.
Yes.
Like, you're like a goth guy, and it's just like, his name was Trent Reznor. It sounds very goth.
Right.
Rob Thomas is Rob Thomas,
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he feels very smooth with Santana, but it's like,
Exactly. Yes.
that was popular.
Yeah.
2000s, but
Oh yeah, I mean, those Santana songs, those were like, I mean, you couldn't get away from them. But yeah, the smooth, like even just you mentioning it, like I suddenly like hear the opening
yeah,
and I cringe, right? Like you get
yeah,
that feeling of like, oh, this is on again. Yes,
yeah.
like,
That's what I thought, and I haven't heard it lately, but you heard it like 1 million times back in the day.
yeah,
And like, no, I always thought, no, Santana, he's not blind. He just has cool sunglasses, right?
right, exactly. Yeah, just yeah,
See, that's
just
what I
yeah,
thought about Stevie Wonder. Oh, Ray Charles. I knew Stevie Wonder was blind when I was a kid.
yes,
I
yeah,
didn't know Ray Charles was blind. I thought he was looking cool with his sunglasses, drinking a
yeah,
Pepsi. It's like, but Santana, he just wears cool sunglasses.
right,
It's
exactly.
like, want to double check that. So it's like,
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, right, is that it was the Rob Thomas. I was going to say I can't. I completely. What happened there? I completely lost it with that.
I'm sorry, what are you talking about, Rob Thomas? You want
Oh, no, with the
Art?
song, with that song being everywhere. It's like one of the things I've noticed is that younger people now they kind of are able to control the music at places because they're old enough to like to to run them or whatever. But like if they were born in like the '90s, in the mid to late '90s, right? These songs would have been on when they were young, right? When they were like
Yeah,
5 or 6 years old, and they don't have the same kind of like cringe factor for them. So like for them, it's like a comfort food thing. Like one that I heard the other day was that "It Wasn't Me" by Shaggy, and
oh,
it's like I've heard that song enough for my entire lifetime. So it's like even hearing it as I was like walking past a restaurant and hearing it play outside, I'm like, oh God, it wasn't me. It's like, oh yeah, it was,
yeah, you don't want to hear that one.
yeah,
And
it's like, oh God, it's like, and that was played twice an hour in 2000. It was like,
oh my
but
goodness, every second. And like, I listen to Get Out Superstar. It's pretty catchy. It's like, because I heard that was out every like 30 seconds.
right,
It's like,
exactly. Yes,
it's
like
like after that I play it, they play it again. It's like,
yeah. Yeah,
but
and I think that's what's smooth by Rob Thomas. That's one that I think like kids that were born in the '90s probably will hear that and be like, "Oh yeah, I kind of know that one. Yeah, I like that." And what was the other one? The other one was Michelle Branch had the one that was like the little bit of this, little bit of that song.
wait,
Um,
I know what you're talking about.
yeah,
I know,
little bit of this.
oh, that
Oh,
that was
the
that was
Game
the
of Love,
Branchster.
was that what it was called? All in the
Yeah.
Game of Love.
Oh yeah, that was the Branchster. She sang that.
Yes, yeah. So
Okay.
it might have been the same album. Might have been another single off that same
Wow,
album.
what a hot album that was. But it's like,
Yeah.
are you happy now?
Right.
It's like, we're talking about it in the last one of the last podcasts. But
Yeah.
well, you had your smooth. I said I'd let you guys go, but okay. You had your smooth,
Right.
and then you had then you got into the 2000s, right? So then people were trying to be more gritty. You got your Linkin Park, you got your Trapped.
Yes.
What's that one we talked about? Oh, it was.
Stained?
Well, yeah. It's been a while.
Been a
But
while.
what's the other one we talked about? Oh man. Well, it's not well, there's Seether, but that's a different.
Right.
Oh, Tantric. It was Tantric.
Tantric. Oh, right. Tantric.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of a dirty ass word, but all right. So it's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah,
so
that's right.
you got Tantric. I love the guy's one of the guy's hair, and it's like half mullet, like half like not no mullet.
Right.
So it's like the people who in that band look hilariously amazing.
Yeah. There was that whole trend of music where it was like, because I always kind of joke that
I'm
like,
kind of obsessed with it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I joke about how like Matchbox 20 and like Goo Goo Dolls, they're kind of like yacht rock for the '90s. Like they're kind of
Yeah.
like that's their
Yeah.
kind of thing. And then like you had these guys that were trying to be harder, like you said, like Seether or Tantric or those ones. And it was almost like Nickelback came in and was like, "Hey, we're harder too, but we're not really." And it's like almost like they stole it from them. And there was like
that kind of idea. It's like
yeah, and then they made all kinds of different versions. Because I think there were a lot of bands that kind of formed under them that kind of had this fake hard edge. That
like
were
what would
just
you say that would be? That would be like what, Three Doors Down, maybe?
Three Doors Down would be in that group. There's the one that was like that song was like she's going down on me in the sheet or something like that. That was like I can't remember what that
Fury
one.
of a Dead Man.
something like that.
I
Something
can't
like
believe you
that.
remember that. It's
I
like
think so. Yeah, like they were all like
it's a
these.
bad girlfriend. It's like
Right. That's what. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And it was
and
like
it was puddle of mud.
Puddle of Mud. Yeah, there was a lot of those that were they were faux. And then of course you had like the pop punk thing with like Good Charlotte and those
Oh
groups
yeah,
that
blame Blink 182 for that. You know, you got Sum
yes, yeah,
41.
right,
It was
exactly.
like kind of like whiny rock. It's like
Yeah,
on that small things. And it's like
right,
okay.
exactly.
It's
It was
like
like
oh, I got a fat lip or Sum 41.
right,
Like
yes.
oh good.
Yeah. It was it was a whole thing that was like to make you feel like you weren't listening to pop. It was like, oh, I'm not listening to the Backstreet Boys or Britney Spears. I'm listening to this real hard stuff that's really not hard. And then I think
Yeah,
they just gave up at a certain point. They were like, no, let's just call it all pop and like we'll release it and we'll put it in the drugstore and stuff like that. That's kind of like what it is now. Like everything's pop. But there was a time where it was like we were afraid to admit we like the Backstreet Boys, but hey, I can like this, this Nickelback thing here instead. And
yeah. I like. And if you want to, you talk about your "Headstrong" by Trapped or some other more
yes,
punchy song. It's like
right,
it's like
exactly.
I think is it "Headstrong"? You gotta look up the trailer for the
Yeah,
original
get
"Never
out
Back
to
Down."
that you are. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that
headstrong.
was a "Never Back
Yeah,
Down." That
yeah.
movie, with is it Cam Gigenet, whatever.
Oh, right.
It's
That's
like
right. There's
there's a rock song like that. It's like it might be "Headstrong," but it's like
yeah.
but it's it sounds cool for the trailer. The movie, have you ever seen Never Back Down? It does drag. It's all too long. It's like if you I don't know if you've seen that or not. But
No, I haven't seen it. Yeah, I don't see enough Cam Gigenet. I think because he's like a step below um what's his face there the Kellen Lutz
yeah, I know. Like who's who? And then during that movie, which I can't wait to see. I mean, it's like Desert Storm or something. But it's like I
yes
couldn't tell
that'll
who was who. Did you look? I think I showed you that poster, right?
yeah the cover where it's like
Oh,
yeah they're the same guy and it's
the
like
same guy. Like that's hilarious. Are they twins? It's like
yeah, and they
it's
were
like
both in Twilight together, so it's like, yeah, it's like Hollywood feels like they've got to do something with those two.
well,
Like
yeah,
they've got
they're
to,
from the Ryan Phillippe factory, right?
right, exactly,
Like they're going to the Ryan Phillippe factory like a fruit roll up factory. It's like
right,
what's gonna be in the Ryan Phillippe factory next? Cam Gigenet, he's
right,
born now.
exactly,
Helen
yes,
Lutz, yeah,
right,
like
and they're not quite like the best flavors of fruit roll-ups. The way that
yeah,
like
they're like the
Ryan
great.
Phillippe's a better flavor of fruit roll-up than what they are.
They're
I don't
like
know
the
what they're
yellow kind. There's like
right. Exactly. It's like lemon fruit roll up, or what would be like the orange or something like that. That wouldn't be as popular as like the cherry or the strawberry.
yeah, the cherry fruit roll up and the yellow orange roll. Those are Cam Gigenet and Kellen Lutz movies.
Right. Exactly.
I mean that.
Yeah.
I
It
get
it
on that one too, but I was gonna mention when Puddle of Mud was popular, but we were talking for a while. But it's like they were very popular because they're in the Vin Diesel trailers.
right. Yes.
It's like you're in the
Yeah.
A Man Apart trailer. You take it all the way.
Right.
You
Yes.
shoved it in my face. It's like,
Yeah.
and you got Vin Diesel. If you ever watched the Man Apart trailer, which is a great trailer by the way,
Oh yes. Yeah.
it's awesome. It's just like because it's just they play Puddle of Mud, and he says like one word things in the trailer. It's like "Let's go," and that's Vin Diesel. It's like "Take it all away, let's move." And it's just like oh, he just says these one line things. And he just doesn't. He says no words.
Right.
But Oliphant is so fantastic in that movie. If you haven't seen Man Apart,
Oh yeah, no, I used to own it. I think I
oh,
had it, used to have it on, yeah, I used to have it on DVD, man. I used to
oh,
have
it's awesome.
all the Vin Diesel movies at a certain point, because I just thought he was just like it was. I just got such a kick out of him that I just had so much of his stuff. But yeah, Man Apart was one that I had. I think I don't know when I stopped collecting Vin Diesel stuff. It was probably like maybe like. I did have the second Fast and Furious movie, but it would have been even though he wasn't in that, it probably would have been Chronicles of Riddick. That's right. I had that one. The director's cut is actually worse than the original. The original is even
Really?
better. Like,
That's
yeah,
amazing to hear. I actually never seen it. So
yeah. If you can see, so I don't know if only the director's cut is available of Chronicles of Riddick, but like the original version, like the lines are better. Like there's a sign, he's escaping a prison, and he says to a guy, the guy's like, "What are you trying to escape here?" And he goes, "When it happens, it'll happen fast. Stay on my leg when I cut fence or die here."
that's
Right?
what he says. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's the best line ever, right? But then in the director's cut, he goes, "Stay on my leg when I cut fence, or stay here forever." And it's like, wait, what? What made you think that "Die Here" wasn't the better line? Because that was like the best line ever, you know. So a lot of stuff like that they mess with the great lines. My buddy and I used to say that when we would go hiking, we'd be like, you know, stay, because my buddy would hike a lot faster than me, so he would joke
Oh,
about like you know, stay on my leg when I cut, you know, or some of you couldn't remember if it was cut fence or he'd be like when I drop trow or something. It's like stuff
yeah,
like
well,
that.
only that one. Everybody like,
Right, exactly. It was like, stay on my leg when I cut fence or die here, you know. It was like yeah, it's a great one. Chronicles of Riddick is a really fun one if you can get the non-director's cut, which I remember I got on DVD. I think it was like hard to find the non-direct. So you know how sometimes the director's cut replaces the original version. So yeah, the one-liners are just so much better in the original version.
but we'll let you go there.
Yeah, we'll wrap on that note. So yeah, one last recommendation for everybody is
Yes.
by the original Chronicles of Riddick. But thanks again, Ty, for coming on. This was a
welcome.
great episode.
Oh, happy to have me back on again. It's very nice to have you back on. So
Yeah,
it was fun. We'll do Match and Base soon, and that'll be a lot of fun. I'll probably talk to you on Instagram, going, thanks for having me on.
yeah, exactly. But yeah. Thanks everybody for listening, and yeah, stay tuned for Mads in May. But yeah, we'll talk soon. Bye,
Sounds good.
everyone.
Bye.